The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. The PLP threatening legal action over quarantined voters. Prime Minister Minnis expressing support for Adrian Gibson of Long Island. And new COVID-19 hospital record, another 7 deaths reported. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. 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 Wake up, wake up.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Don Sargent will be joining us. So this morning, we continue meeting candidates in the upcoming general election, just 9 days away now. Today, we have PLP Pinewood candidate Miles LaRoe. And later in Morning Blend Business, have you heard about it, the global chip shortage, what that means for you, business, and for you if you're a consumer, what you need to keep in mind for what some are saying may be even a couple of years. It's all straight ahead this morning. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, 190 people were in the hospital with COVID-19 as of Sunday, and another 7 deaths have been recorded, adding to the 27 contained in the Ministry of Health's report for Friday and Saturday. This is the highest number of hospitalizations recorded in the country since the start of the pandemic. According to the latest dashboard, 127 new cases were reported on Sunday. Of the 190 hospitalizations, 107 were at the Princess Margaret Hospital, 56 at Doctors Hospital, 9 at South Beach Acute Care and Referral Center, and 21 at Grand Bahama Health Services. 175 people were listed as moderately ill, and 15 were in the intensive care unit. The ministry reporting that 7 people, 6 women and 1 man, all from New Providence, died between August 17th and August 29th. They ranged in ages from 33 to 82. The total number of confirmed COVID cases rose to 446. Another 19 deaths are still under investigation, and 101 people died with COVID, but COVID was not listed as the cause of death. Of the 127 new cases, 92 here in New Providence, 12 in Abaco, 8 Grand Bahama, 6 in Eleuthera, 6 on Andros, and 3 on Cat Island. The ministry saying that there are 3,406 active cases and 15,008 recovered cases. So far, 520 new COVID cases have been reported. In September, there were 3,540 cases in August. Officials at Doctors Hospital and PMH have said they are out of space to treat patients. Many health experts in the country say there are likely more new COVID cases occurring each day than what is actually reported. The test positivity rate on Sunday was just under 40%. In total, 18,980 cases have been reported since March 2020. The PLP is threatening legal action should quarantined individuals be prevented from voting in the general election. In a letter to Acting Parliamentary Commissioner Lovato Duncanson, Damien Gomez, QC, acting on behalf of the PLP and its leader, Philip Davis, and the party's membership and supporters, requested a timely confirmation that all registered voters will be permitted to cast their ballots. Gomez wrote that the PLP is, quote, alarmed that may be influenced by the outgoing administration to prevent Bahamian citizens who are duly registered in accordance with the Parliamentary Elections Act from casting their respective votes, notwithstanding that they are suffering from any not suffering from any legal incapacity as defined in Section 10 of the Act. According to that letter, Gomez wrote, quote, to allay our clients' fears, we write to request that you confirm within 36 hours that you will not prevent any registered voter from casting his or her ballot on the basis that he or she is quarantined or on the basis that he or she is suffering from COVID-19. We further request that you indicate what steps have been taken to ensure that such persons who are quarantined or persons suffering from COVID-19 may cast their respective ballots in a facility that is safe to other members of the electorate. If no such steps have been taken, we request an explanation for such failure. Admin is reaffirming his support for Long Island candidate Adrian Gibson, saying he has been doing a good job for Long Island and the country. But Minnis, who was speaking at a rally on Long Island, failed to directly address the recent controversy that has ensnared Gibson regarding the questionable award of Water and Sewage Corporation contracts. And 3 accused drug smugglers extradited to the United States to face trial. Edson Watson, Nathaniel Knowles, and former policeman Ian Bethel are expected to appear in a Florida court today. They were extradited on Friday. The handover to American authorities ended a legal battle that lasted almost 19 years. Bahamian authorities arrested Watson, Knowles, and Bethel in December 2002 on a provisional extradition warrant after a U.S. grand jury indicted them on charges of conspiracy to commit drug trafficking offenses. Overseas, the Taliban saying they've seized the last province not in their control after their blitz through Afghanistan last month, overrunning force a takeover. Thousands of Taliban fighters charged into 8 districts in Panjshir province overnight, according to witnesses from the area who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity. A Taliban spokesperson confirming that the province, which is north of the capital, was now held by their fighters. The resisting forces were led by the former vice president and also the son of the iconic anti-Taliban fighter Ahmad Shah Massoud. Experts had doubted that the holdout efforts could succeed long-term against the Taliban, whose rapid advance through Afghanistan met little resistance in the final days of America's 20-year war in the country. And from the world of entertainment, actor Michael K. Williams, who as the rogue robber of drug dealers Omar Little on The Wire created one of the most beloved and enduring characters in the prime era of television, has died. Williams was found dead Monday afternoon by members in his Brooklyn penthouse apartment, according to New York City police. He was being investigated as a possible drug overdose. The medical examiner was investigating the cause of death. Williams, who was born in Brooklyn to a Bahamian mother from Nassau and an American, was raised in Brooklyn and attended George Westinghouse Career and Technical Education High School before getting into acting. Michael K. Williams, dead at 54. In sports, the popular Bad Boy Mowers Battle for Atlanta's men's college basketball tournament is set to make a return to the Bahamas for its 10th edition after skipping 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. That tournament is set for November 24th through 26th at Atlantis Paradise Island. In addition to the tournament, there will be the inaugural Battle for Atlantis women's basketball tournament set for the week before the men's tournament, November 20th through 22nd. Both are NCAA Division I tournaments. Track and field season is essentially over for Bahamian athletes, and a number of them find themselves highly ranked in their respective disciplines on the World Athletics top performance list for 2021. Leading the way on the senior side are the Bahamas' Olympic champions from Tokyo. Stephen Gardner and Shawnee Miller-Weibo are on top of the world's performance list for the men's and women's 400 meters, respectively. Gardner tying the world lead of 43.85 seconds for the gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics. It was the second fastest time in history, trailing just the 43.48 he ran for the gold medal at the World Championships in Doha, Qatar, 2 years ago. And bagging injuries, a loaded schedule, and a determined young field of athletes who were fixed to knock her off her throne, Miller-Weibo turned up the heat and ran the fastest time of her life in Tokyo. It paid off with a blazing world leading time, a new national and area record, and the 10th fastest in history in the women's 400 meters, 48.36 seconds. Miller-Weibo was the only athlete to run under 49 seconds in the women's 400 meters this year, and she finished nearly a full second faster than second-place finisher Marileti Paulino of the Dominican Republic in the Olympic final. You can read more about all of this in today's Guardian Sports section. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, rich tropical moisture interacting with the lingering troughing to the north of the Bahamas will continue to generate bouts of unsettled weather across portions of the islands. Meanwhile, sea swells generated by Hurricane Larry all the way out there in the Atlantic will begin to impact Atlantic exposures through tonight. Boaters should remain alert and due to the threat of possible waterspout activity, and beachgoers should exercise caution due to the slight to moderate risk of rip currents along Atlantic exposed and eastern shorelines. And once again, everybody's being urged to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities, as heat indices are expected to soar into the triple digits again today. As Bahamas, your forecast calls for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Turning warm tonight, showers may be locally heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times, especially across the northwest Bahamas. For boaters, expect gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Wind south-southeast to south-southwest at 10 knots or less, falling light and variable at times. Seas 1 to 3 feet, but slightly higher in light easterly swells along Atlantic exposed shorelines. For the southeast Bahamas today, look for partly sunny to sunny and hot conditions with a few light showers and a slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm, becoming mostly fair and warm with a stray shower or two tonight. Smoke-craft cautions in effect due to swells. Winds east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet near shore, but building up to 6 feet in moderate easterly swells along Atlantic exposed shorelines. Temperature-wise today, right now, we are at about 79 under mostly cloudy skies in Nassau. In Freeport, 78 right now. In Freeport, look for highs getting to around 91 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius. That heat index, 105 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook and a look at the tropics coming up after traffic in just a bit. You are listening to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
End of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Nassau, Rollin' Red is your next stop. It's a drive-in rally this September at the QE Sports Center, 6 to 8 p.m. Stay in your car and truck or on top of your car or truck. Live entertainment featuring Christian Massett, Najee Dunn, and DJ Tang. All safety protocols will be observed. So let's roll red. Then watch us live on any FNM social media site or the rebroadcast on ZNS, R News, and Eyewitness, 8 to 10 p.m.
This has been a paid political announcement from the Free National Movement.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Don Sargent is going to be joining us. And you can join the conversation as well. We are on 969 or Facebook, facebook.com/morningblend969. Text us 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Coming up this morning, we've got more weather and traffic. And in our 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with PLP candidate for Pinewood, Miles LaRota. He's going to be here with us this morning. And then later in Morning Blend Business, we are going to be talking about the global chip shortage. Has gotten worse as a result of the pandemic. It's probably at the worst point ever right now. And we're hearing that prices for many things, especially automobiles, are expected to go up. That's if you can find the automobile you like or want. So imagine all of that, and it's not just automobiles that are being affected. We're going to get into all of that this morning in Morning Blend Business. So a lot to get to this morning. Let's begin, though, with what's in the news. And in the news, the PLP threatens legal action over quarantined voters. Yes. We're going to get to that in just a second, but let's paint a picture as to why these folks, in case some people have forgotten it appears that some people have forgotten why folks are quarantined. It's because of a very contagious disease that is killing people every day, everywhere in the world. Some people, I don't think, remember this. All right, so the big headline in the NASA Guardian, new COVID-19 hospital record. Another 7 deaths reported as well. Our Travis Cartwright Carroll writing about it. 190 people were in the hospital. 190 people in the hospital with COVID-19 as of Sunday. And another 7 deaths were recorded, adding to the 27 contained in the Ministry of Health's reports for Friday and Saturday. It's the highest number of hospitalizations reported in the country since the start of the pandemic. According to the latest dashboard, 127 new cases were reported on Sunday. Of the 190 hospitalizations, 104 were at Princess Margaret Hospital, 104. 56 at Doctors Hospital, 9 at South Beach Acute Care, 21 at Grand Bahama Health Services. Yeah. 175 people were listed as moderately ill, and 15 are in intensive care. The ministry reported that 7 people, 6 women and 1 man, all from New Providence, died between August 17th and August 29th. They range in age from 33 to 82. The total number of confirmed COVID deaths now stands at 446. Another 19 deaths are under investigation, and 101 people died with COVID, but COVID was not listed as the cause of death. Of the 127 new cases, 92 were in New Providence, 12 Abaco, 8 Grand Bahama, 6 Luthra, 6 Andros, and 3 Cat Island. The ministry says that there are 3,406 active cases and 15,008 recovered cases. So far, 520 new COVID cases have been reported in September. It's just the 7th day of September. And there were 3,540 cases in the record-breaking month of August. You've heard it before. Officials at Doctors Hospital and PMH say that they are out of space to treat patients. And making it worse, health officials say that there are likely more COVID cases occurring each day than what's actually reported. The test positivity rate on Sunday was just under 40%. Now, yesterday, what appeared to be patients sitting in tents in a parking lot. It's not clear if the parking lot was at PMH. A person in the video says, quote, "This is what our health system has come down to. They have doctors working in tents out in the rain. It has to be a better way. The taxpayers' money, where is it going? What is the Minutes administration doing? It is awful." One doctor dealing with hundreds of patients coming in daily. That's what the person said in the video. In the video, the woman moves around the parking lot. At one point, she stops behind 3 patients under a tent. The patients, 2 elderly men and an elderly woman wearing a blue sweater. appear to be on oxygen. Oxygen tanks sit next to each of them on the muddy pavement. The woman in the video is urging everybody who's seeing it to share the video. She says, quote, "It's not the people's time. It can't be. Our health system has crashed. It has crashed." Back in July, when COVID hospitalizations hit 100, Dr. Nakia Forbes, director of the National HIV Program, warned that if something isn't done to flatten the curve of new infections, the situation would get worse. In the midst of the surge, Prime Minister Minnis announced on August 19th that the general election will be held on September 16th. He told supporters on Friday to go out and vote and assured them that the polls would be safe. However, the parliamentary commissioner has yet to announce health protocols that will be put in place for the election. All right. So, all of that's happening. It's a crisis situation. It's been a crisis for months, and it's getting worse. And we have an election in 9 days. And people are out in the streets dancing and partying and rallying and campaigning. And on the backs of trucks. And people are sick. And as we all know, we hear it all the time. There was a report that we aired on the news yesterday where a doctor says many people are taking the cheaper rapid antigen test. And when they test positive, that confirmed what they always thought. And they don't go forward to take the RT-PCR test, which is a lot more expensive because they already know. And but those rapid antigen test results are not counted in our numbers. And so it's, of course, a lot worse, the situation in this country, than what we're hearing, which is already shocking, right? So that's going on. We are in a crisis, and the election is 9 days from now. So a lot of people are in quarantine because they are sick, they know they have COVID, or they've been told by the contact tracing units that they have been in contact with somebody who has COVID, and so they need to isolate, go into quarantine in order to be safe, to protect themselves or others, right? And we knew that this was going to get worse over these few weeks after what we've been seeing every weekend when there's a motorcade and rally. But a couple weeks ago, people started to talk about what's going to happen to people in quarantine because they were very concerned about this. What about their right to vote? And now the PLP is threatening to take legal action to prevent voters from being disenfranchised, as they say, in the upcoming general election. Take a listen to this report from our Jared Higgs for more on this.
A letter from attorney Damian Gomez demands confirmation within 36 hours that quarantined and COVID-positive voters won't be prevented from voting. In a letter sent to voters in anticipation of litigation and will be drawn to the court's attention, he says, "We're alarmed that you may be influenced by the outgoing administration to prevent Bahamian citizens who are duly registered in accordance with the Parliamentary Elections Act from casting their respective votes, notwithstanding that they are not suffering from any legal incapacity as defined by the Act." He added, "We further request that you indicate what steps have been taken to ensure that such persons who are quarantined or persons suffering from COVID-19 may cast their respective ballots in a facility that is safe to other members of the electorate. If no such steps have been taken, we request an explanation for such failure." The letter stems from comments made by Minister of National Security Marvin Dames last week, where he strongly suggested that quarantined and COVID-positive individuals wouldn't be able to vote.
What is quarantine? Quarantine is quarantine. Someone has COVID and they're quarantined. They're quarantined for a reason. And, this is, you have people who are incarcerated on election day. You have people who are hospitalized on election day. You have people who are out of the country on the election day. And they may be registered voters, but they can't vote because of the circumstances. And so, we'll see.
No update has been provided since those comments by Dames. Gomez's letter notes that the election was called during a surge in COVID-19 cases, adding that the PLP is hopeful that it wasn't called to prevent registered voters from voting. He adds that the Bahamas is a democratic country and that right to vote is at the heart and soul of the word democratic as used in Article 1 of the Constitution. Gomez's letter goes on to state that with Parliament dissolved, there's no way to bypass Article 1 of the Constitution. He says the letter is addressed to Duncanson since the law says that it is his duty to carry out the requirements of the law in holding free and fair elections. Describing democracy as a fragile flower, Gomez says the hope is that litigation can be avoided. However, he says if the appeal to Duncanson's, quote, sense of patriotism fails, they'll proceed immediately to court. Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jared Higgs.
Following a weekend of...
Hi, our Don Sargent is with us. Don, welcome back. You've been off for a few weeks.
Something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Hope you've been keeping safe.
Pardon?
Hope you've been keeping safe and able to...
Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely. Did you? I just remember when I left, I think you had just gotten your first shot, Dwight.
Not
Did you
first.
still
Not-
on the whole waiting thing for the second one?
Not first. The first was many ages ago. You mean
Oh, you got your second shot already?
Second, yes.
Oh, you fully check up then. Okay,
Well,
cool.
As of today's Tuesday, and the 2 week day, Thursday, in 2 days. Yeah, I'll be
Oh, a week before election.
fully vaccinated. Yes, that's right. And, yeah.
What did you get? The AstraZeneca, right?
No, well, first one was AstraZeneca, second one was Pfizer.
Second one was Pfizer. Okay. Mixing and matching.
That's
Gotcha.
right. That's right. All right. So, the PLP threatening legal action over the quarantine. This part is just really very special. This is to Duncanson, the acting parliamentary commissioner. You, quote, may be influenced by the outgoing administration to prevent Bahamian citizens who are duly registered in accordance with the Parliamentary Elections Act from casting their respective votes, notwithstanding that they are not suffering from any legal incapacity as defined in Section 10. So, yes, it is. We have got to protect people's rights to vote. But to act like COVID is just like a bee sting, and that can be fatal to a lot of people. But anyway, to act like it's a mosquito, but that's also fatal sometimes. Anyway, someone pinching you, I'm very surprised. Very surprised at this. We just read about all the people in the hospital and people in intensive care and all those who've died and how many deaths we've had, the records we're breaking every few weeks. And to act like this is, hey, they just have a cold. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Not saying that people should be disenfranchised, but just the callousness that we're hearing on both sides is astounding. It is. We shouldn't respond in a flippant way as the national security minister did, but you also can't act like this ain't nothing, no big deal. Calm down. You can't do that. This is much more serious than that. And there are people who are intentionally, knowing what's going on, putting themselves in harm's way. Clearly. Right? Can they just be allowed to do whatever they want, disobey, disregard every single protocol, and still just march up in the booth, laughing up cherubs? Yeah, my time.
What's going to happen? You know damn well that's going to happen. Same thing with now. Again, this story though is what I'm a bit conflicted on it, right? Because on one hand, I don't think it should necessarily. I don't think at all it should restrict someone's right to vote. But then at the same time, I also understand the absolutely abysmal situation this country is in with COVID-19 and the healthcare system. So, I'm very torn on this issue. And I also can see the arguments, because I've heard a lot of people on the PLP side of the fence say that the government's doing this as a way of kind of like voter suppression. But I don't want to sound insensitive, but I expect an opposition party to say something like that. And I've also heard people from the FNM side of the camp say that this is to protect the healthcare system and protect people. But then the argument then could be, well, why would you even call an election at this point in time, considering we were going through a massive surge and the Delta variant is raging all around the world. And I don't even know if we have the Delta variant in the country officially. I'm sure unofficially, probably. There's a lot of different arguments for different things, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm very concerned about the prospect of someone getting sick and then they're unable to vote, because they have to quarantine. But I'm just saying, I can see why that could be problematic. What do you think, Dwight?
Hey, we're 9 days away. So when this argument started, most of those people would have been out of quarantine by election day. Maybe not for the advance poll, which is this week, but for election day, they would have been fine. So now, if you get caught up in something, you've got to say it. You've been doing some foolishness. Maybe you came to work and you were working around some crazy people who've been out on the rally. But see if you can work at home. Try that. Try to avoid everything. Do whatever it takes over the next few days to avoid everybody. Stay at home if you can. Stay far from everybody. To be counted as somebody who needs to go in isolation, you have to do some very specific things. You have to be not just in the same room with somebody. We've learned now, right? It's a little bit more complex. You need to be within very close proximity to that person. And if you are in a room with people you don't know what they're doing, you should probably wear your mask all the time. And if you are afraid of taking off your mask to eat, well, then don't eat around them. All these things. We can do things to prevent this. So keep that in mind. You don't know where people go. You don't know what events and activities they take part in. So avoid them. Like the plague, pardon the pun, right? Because this one is a plague. And you can do this. You can do this, right? Just because you're in the same building with that person doesn't mean you have to, right? That's not how it works now.
Do we still have to dip our fingers in the ink? Because I ain't into that, considering...
Yeah, I hear a lot of people saying this, but again, you wash your hands right after. Don't go to lunch right after. Wash your hands right
Lord.
after. Walk around with your wipes. We've been doing that a lot. Get your wipes, wipe your hands down afterward. Wipe before and after. Hopefully they'll have that there too. Right? Again, that's part of the problem. We're not hearing from them. We've not been hearing from the Parliamentary Registration Department much at all during this entire process, which is very surprising compared to how they've been in the past. And that is already causing issues legally. All right, let's hear what you have to say. You brought up an interesting point. Don, we're going to get to that in a bit. The PLP chairman talked about that and the irony, because they all were calling for the Prime Minister to ring the bell, but now they're saying, how could you ring the bell in the middle of the pandemic? But sure. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning to Mr. Sanders.
Sergeant,
Yes,
Don Sargent.
Yeah, Don Sargent. Yes, I don't see the Progressive Liberal Party being flippant, nor when they hired QC Damian Gomez, because they made the research. The Bahamas is not the only country that has COVID. Other countries held elections, and they put protocols and safety measures in place. The Progressive Liberal Party made their research.
You heard of people in quarantine in those places going to vote?
They put proper protocols in place, safety measures for a person who's in quarantine to be able to vote.
They probably did
right?
mail-in ballots and stuff.
Pardon
Those are probably countries where they can do mail-in ballots and stuff like that.
No, more than mail-in ballots and so forth.
Seriously? Like what? What could they do?
Each country had their own protocol measures.
Tell me some of them, please.
That is why the Progressive Liberal Party,
Inform me.
along with a well-researched lawyer, he was able to put that out, because the Bahamas can find the protocol measures and safety measures.
Tell me more about them.
Governing a country, knowing that you're having an election.
Okay, I hear you. Tell me more about them, please. Tell me.
This is why you make your research.
No. You're the one who brought up that foolishness, talking garbage. So who's supposed to work that poll with all the quarantine people voting? Who? We got to find people with COVID to work it? Who's going to do that? Stop talking garbage. Seriously. What?
Another thing about it, too, right? When the United States had their elections, it was literally the point where persons who tested positive for COVID still went in to vote. I ain't saying they're right or wrong for doing it. I'm just saying, I don't know what protocols you're going to do for that. But, countries around the world have had people just going on the line sick with COVID. We also don't have the resource. Anyway, whatever. I don't know. I don't know, Dwight, what protocols you can have in place for that. Again, I do not think people should not be allowed to vote, but at the same time, options. Like we should. I don't know. It's too late now. We're 9 days out. But I don't know, man. There should have been something in place for a situation like this, where a person should be able to mail in a ballot or have a ballot forwarded ahead of time or some form of function versus them having to physically come in. But if you just like she was, I don't know what the caller was getting at when they talked protocols, but like a lot of countries just pretty much told people to just go with COVID. Then the U.S. presidential elections was infamous for that because that happened a lot. And numbers did spike in areas where people were doing that. So,
hey,
I don't know.
If people did it, that means they just didn't care. They came in there knowing they were supposed to be in quarantine in other countries, and they just did it. All right? I can't imagine where you're going to have. You're going to have the people working in hazmat suits. How are you going to do this?
I don't want to say it like this, but the reality is because we have to pay for testing and such, people just could have it and refuse to go get tested to prove that they have it and just go anyway. So the reality of what I'm saying, why I'm saying these things is that is precisely what's going to happen here. So we're just going to follow suit what the Americans did. I don't see any protocols. Only thing you could do is just try to give face shields and masks to the poll workers and the police officers that are undoubtedly going to be there. But other than that, Dwight, I can't say anything else.
Okay, so someone sent me an article from the Jamaica Observer. Listen to this. People in quarantine, including those with COVID-19, allowed to vote. The government has given approval for people in quarantine, even those positive for coronavirus, to vote in the general election with adherence to strict protocol. According to a statement from the Office of the Prime Minister, people required to remain in quarantine. This is all I asked her for, People required to remain in quarantine, other than those who are required to remain in isolation from others, may leave quarantine once to vote during the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on September 3rd, or during the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on an earlier date if eligible to do so, and shall immediately after voting return to quarantine. In mouth, they are required to observe protocols of the polling station and maintain physical distancing. They must also travel to the polling station in a private vehicle with windows open and the air conditioning switched off. The driver and other passengers should also wear a mask at all times. Who's driving them? Similarly, people required to remain in quarantine in isolation from others may leave quarantine once for the purpose of voting during the hours of 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. on September 3rd, or during the hours of 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on an earlier date if eligible to do so, and shall immediately after voting return to quarantine and isolation from other persons. This sounds crazy. Okay.
Like I said, the same thing the Americans did.
They are also required to notify the Ministry of Health and Wellness prior to leaving quarantine. Oh, jokey. Prior to leaving quarantine, and wear a mask fitted to cover the nose and mouth, a face shield, gloves, and a disposable gown. What now? Transportation to the polling station must be private. That's going to be a problem, of course, if we try that here. With only a driver present in the vehicle, among other requirements outlined by the government. The announcement coming as more than 45,000 Election Day workers, police officers, and military personnel prepare to vote. Well, this was just a couple days ago. All right. Yeah, you think we could implement that?
9 days out.
Okay.
Maybe. But like I said, the reality of what's going to happen is just as they kind of talked about in the article, that you can vote and that what's going to happen here is people are going to do it anyway. So, I mean,
Well, super spreading before, on the day of, and after. This will be it. But
don't you think, though, Dwight, there is probably going to be more super spreading on the campaign trail than it would be? Because I imagine they'll socially distance the lines to go and vote. We have to sanitize your hands. I don't know if they're going to sanitize the pencils we're going to be using. Definitely not the ink. But don't you think it'd be more likely for someone to catch COVID at this point on the campaign trail with all the motorcades and all this foolishness that apparently is still happening versus on the line voting?
All of it. Yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure, the numbers are going to continue to go up. So let's hope they go down afterwards.
Let's take some more calls. Good morning, Paul. You're on the air.
Dwight Strachan.
Hi, good morning.
You want to keep this election?
No, you again. No, we already told you. All right. Let's take another call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, good morning,
Hi.
man.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, you know, this is the time where we really need to step back and remain calm and have a good look at what is happening before us. There's a lot of reports coming out of the hospitals that sleep apnea, you know, when you can't sleep at night because you can't breathe properly, is giving an indication and showing up in the hospitals as people who have been vaccinated and now having COVID. We see these two political parties are using this chaos strategy to just confuse us. But if we want to get clearly above these dark clouds and into the light, we need to get rid of both of these confusions, the PLP and the FNM. They just keep bouncing back and forth with this confusion. It really shows the kind of people we are, though. And if we continue in this trend, it really shows the world that Bahamians are not as smart as I thought they are. And really think about it, because if we're going to be bouncing the ball back and forth, well, this country may not be our own. There are two other nations living right here who are waiting to take it from us. We're so fooled. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you very much. All right, so I want to know if people hearing what Jamaica did, if they are comfortable with that. If I mean, they can't get it together in 9 days. But if they were to try something like that, what do you think? What do you think? Would you be comfortable knowing that that's happening there? And that's a pretty big window. Was that election day or a separate day? A quarantine voter day. Huh, okay.
I think we have an advance poll here as well, don't we?
Yeah, that's Thursday.
Yes. I don't know, man. It's I don't know if that's
COVID day.
Was there anything that was said from like the commission at all on like how this is to proceed?
No. You heard the national security minister. He's a minister responsible. He says, "Hey, so what? People are in jail. People are on death's door, and so what's supposed to happen? They don't get to vote. So
please follow anything he has to say.
Oh, what's that? Was that you, Don?
Huh?
What was that just now? Okay.
No, nothing. I didn't say anything.
All right. So let's get to your text messages. You can text us 422-4796. Continue to call in, tweet us, Facebook us, and then we'll get to what the PLP chairman is saying. Someone says here, so over the last 2 weeks, Obama's had over 100 cases, 100 people a day getting COVID. So if those people came into contact with 10 people, just 10 people, there should be about 14,000 in quarantine. So will these people be allowed to vote? Well, I mean, there's a lot of ifs there, right?
Are they gonna have like a quarantine list? And if your name is on the list, you can't vote? Is that what's gonna happen? Well, who knows? I don't know.
All right, this person says here, how many weeks after taking AstraZeneca can one take the Pfizer? Asking because my mom took AstraZeneca early in August. I want her to get a second shot as soon as possible. You can wait the same with AstraZeneca, the same seven.
Yeah, I think minimum of 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And there's also a third shot you're going to have to take with Pfizer as well. So that's
probably all.
They're ruling that out, I think, in Texas and Oklahoma, California. Don't know what Florida's doing.
Yeah.
New York. So just throwing that out there. And so far, there is no third shot for AstraZeneca. They said that there seems to be, at the moment, no need for such a thing. So do with that information as you will.
This text here, Dwight, the fact that people may be in quarantine does not speak to them being COVID positive. There are many people in quarantine who are simply not infected. Can you share data to clarify? Well, yeah, that is true, because you were in contact. And maybe you don't want to take a test, and so maybe you can't afford to, and you're asked to do that, to isolate. They go on to say, can you share data to clarify how many people are in quarantine, and also what percentage of those in quarantine have tested positive for COVID? Are you intimating that the vote lines will be pristine and free from those with COVID? by taking away the right to vote. Not me, I'm not saying that at all. Are you saying that because you are in quarantine, your right to vote should be forfeited, and though you may have tested negative and exert no symptoms? No, I'm not saying that either. Are these the same people not on grocery, bank, government, and takeout lines daily? In my opinion, it would have only been prudent for the Parliamentary Commission to create parallel avenues for all eligible Bahamians to vote. Okay. Well, we do tell the people who know that they are to be in quarantine not to go to the supermarket, right? So how would that be different from telling them not to come to a place where people are lined up to vote? I don't understand. So you just want to do away with quarantine entirely if you're not exhibiting symptoms. Is that what we want? Because we do tell them not to go places.
So that kind of begs the question then, Dwight. What do you think should happen? Do you think people who, let's say, are quarantined should be able to still vote, or you think they should sit it out? There's the $1 million question, eh?
I'm thinking those same people that texter mentioned, right? We're getting into that window now where you're looking for trouble. Are you going to be in a bad place if you're told today that you've come in direct contact with somebody? Dog eat your lunch. But when we first started talking about this, a lot of people could have avoided any problems. But the risky behaviors have continued, have only gotten worse. So now more people are going to be. You could have been in it at the end of August and out by September 16th. But yet people continue to do the things they shouldn't have been doing. On the back of a truck with 25 to 30 other people not wearing a mask, laughing up and smiling up. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question. I mean, hey, maybe people have been prepared to die to express their opinions when it comes to politics. So, hey, everybody, man, go to the polls. And God help us afterward. Yeah. The government knows the election was coming, and they also knew that COVID, oh my, is this supposed to be COVID? This word? Okay, COVID-19 was out there. They had more than a year. They should come up with a solution by now. Let's go to this piece then, which includes the PLP chairman, Fred Mitchell, and what he's saying about this.
I'm not going to answer either of those issues because I don't wish to get into any contretemps with the Medical Association. They have to say what they have to say, and they have to make the comments they have to make.
PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell responding to concerns raised by the Medical Association about political activities held over the weekend. On Saturday, the PLP and other political parties held motorcades that lasted hours.
That's really what the nut of the issue is. When you call a general election, people are in an excitable state. They want to participate in their democracy. And so as many rules as you wish to apply, it is difficult in these circumstances to do that. So what we've seen so far, there's nothing abnormal or out of step with election season.
Mitchell insisted the real problem is the irresponsible decision to call an election in the middle of the pandemic.
Those who are concerned about that should also take note of the fact that this may not have been the appropriate time in the midst of a pandemic to actually engage in this.
On Sunday, the Bahamas Medical Association expressed grave concern over large gatherings held by campaigning political parties. The association also pointed out that the country is experiencing rapid growth in COVID numbers and deaths. The Free National Movement held drive-in rallies on Andros and Grand Bahama. When contacted, F&M Chairman Carl Culmer declined an interview. Mitchell, who was also the PLP's candidate for Fox Hill, said the PLP stressed the importance of following COVID-19 protocols and vaccination to its supporters.
We've observed all of the behaviors, and we have reinforced to all of our folk that all of the prophylactic measures have to be taken, which is the mask wearing in particular, the social distancing, and we are encouraging people to be vaccinated. We're deeply aware of the issues concerning the matter of the social participation of people in this election cycle. Deeply aware of it, and are doing everything to ensure that there's no spread of COVID which arises out of this.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this was a bad time to call an election that didn't need to be called at this point. But again, these people, the same people, many people, were calling for the bell to be rung as quickly as possible. And here we are. All right. We'll get to your calls in just a second. Just want to read this text here. Just got an update from one of my colleagues. Jamaica had an awful surge after their election. The wave is or was so bad that patients were lying on the floor, and the healthcare workers were stepping over patients. Jamaica has now strict lockdowns. They have 7 days to attempt to flatten the curve, and strict curfews that start at 7 and on other days 2 or 3 p.m. Yep, we know about that. And many are very, very nervous that could be what lies ahead for us. This one says here, did not the PLP complain that the election is being held in the height of the pandemic? Now they want to go to court to fight for quarantined voters to come to vote? How duplicitous. Another one here. Wait a second. Was that the same Damien Gomez that was leading the class action lawsuit against BPL a couple years back? Now back with more lawsuit talks? Well, he's a lawyer. That's what they do. I don't see what the issue is. Okay. The ink is ridiculous. It's like saying, yeah, jump in the cesspit. Just make sure you bathe afterwards. Why expose 170,000 people to the risk? Well, I think the ink will be the least of your concerns. But I hear you. Again, you could wash your hands right after. Pretty sure some of the doorknobs we touch are going to be a lot worse. Yeah, okay. Let's take this call, and then we'll get to more of your messages. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Dwight and Dawn, how are you doing?
You're doing well. Good morning.
Great. Welcome back, Dawn. Hope you had a great vacation. Dwight, you made several statements this morning that concern me relating to the elections and COVID-19. First and foremost, you had the director of infectious diseases and AIDS in the country, who was also a key component or a key person on the COVID-19 task force, advising the government from back in July of the serious consequences if we do not make provisions, right? 1 month later, calls election. 1 month later, Dwight. However, your premise stating that we are 9 days out from election is flawed, because we have been dealing with COVID-19 in this country underneath the competent authority article since March of last year, Dwight.
What do you
17 months in.
What do you mean
Pardon
by
me?
what do you mean by the premise is flawed? We are 9 days out from the election.
No. You were making a suggestion that the Prime Minister or the Commissioner responsible for elections only has 9 days to prepare, right? But they have had since March of last year, knowing that COVID-19 is not going anywhere. They've had 17 months, Dwight, to prepare for elections,
I don't know
which
if
they knew was coming.
If you tuned in late, Anton, I said they have 9 days. And
No.
Well, hold on. That if people are saying that they need to set up a special COVID protocol and time to have maybe an advance poll for quarantined voters, that may be a challenge in 9 days. That's
Okay, well, Dwight, I was listening to you from 6:30, and I am completely on point to what I'm saying to you. That's why I made the suggestion, or why I'm making a point to you, Dwight, because they have had 17 months to prepare our healthcare plan. They knew that elections had to come by May of next year, right? And so there's no excuse why, if the Prime Minister, being the only person in the country who knew when he was going to call elections, he has no excuse why he did not provide the protocols to ensure that we have a safe and a protected election process as much as humanly possible. It is inexcusable, Dwight, for him to have had 17 months of fighting COVID-19, knowing that he is the only person who knew when elections were going to be called, knowing that he was going to call elections for the 16th of September, and he still did not put in place, and still has not the election process will be carried out. He has still not pronounced the provisions relating to how persons who are in quarantine or who are in isolation or who has contracted COVID-19 will be provided for to ensure that they have the ability to vote. As a matter of fact, Dwight, Dawn touched on it a little. The United States, being the lead country, has all the provisions. We could have put those very same provisions in place, knowing, Dwight, that COVID-19 was not going to end on the 16th of September, knowing, Dwight, even further, that COVID-19 was not going to end May of 2022. If he had even gone to 2022 for election, there is no excuse, Dwight. The Prime Minister has found himself demonstrating again his incompetence, demonstrating again his preparedness for calling the elections and putting in place the provisions. Further, Dwight, as it relates to the festivities relating to elections, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, the minister responsible for elections, being National Security Minister, along with the commissioner, the parliamentary commissioner, should have all sat down and outlined, along with or in consultation with the medical fraternity or the COVID-19 task force and the medical fraternity, how it's the best approach to ensure that Bahamians' health are protected and Bahamians' lives are protected. That should have been priority if you're going to call elections, knowing that you're the only person in the country, being the Prime Minister, who knew when he was going to call it. There is no excuse to it. He has fumbled and bumbled and demonstrated his ineptness and demonstrated his incompetence and his inefficiencies once again. Thank you for the opportunity, Dwight.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. All right. Don, you're there?
Yeah, so
okay, there. Here is a time through voting with a drop box for COVID positive and quarantined people work.
I mean, that's all that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yes?
What, do I think it could work?
Oh, you think that's a good one? Okay.
I do. I think, I mean, as compared to just go on the line like everybody else, again, in the United States, you just went on the line. Although, again, they still had mail-in ballots, and a lot of people did mail-in ballots. Depends on your political persuasion as well, because you found that Democrats did it more than Republicans, although both parties or all citizens had the ability to do so for the most part. Now, that's been changing since with the laws, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Again, because it seems as if there's nothing in place now, Dwight, I have to raise the question, is it even possible for us to do something on such short notice at multiple polling stations? Do we have the personnel?
This text here, postpone the election. They said Jamaica did it, but now Jamaica's in lockdown every day.
I don't even think it's, is that even possible?
I don't know.
At this point?
I don't know. This one here, why has there been no mention of the F&M's motorcade on Saturday? Was it that small? I mean, who didn't mention it? There were motorcades all over. What do you mean? I mean, anyway, let's go on. Even the doctors who complained only mentioned two other parties and the F&M rallies on the islands. Before election was called, they should have made provisions for those who are in quarantine. Okay. Another one says here, Jamaica released disaster risk management enforcement measures for the general election 2020. People in quarantine had a specific period to vote. Traveled in private transportation, had to call before leaving. Yeah, we read that already. Read the whole thing. And yes, well, the people who are in quarantine do not simply mean they are positive for COVID. They can take an antigen test before voting, have them cleared for at least an hour and a half for the day, and have them return back home. It's not really that difficult. If this government just thoroughly thought this out, it can be pretty simple. Well, this one says, I think this is the worst decision our prime minister's ever made. We are in the poorest state ever. No good health care. We cannot compare to other countries. They have excellent health care. Dr. Minutes, I hope you don't regret this. Another one, I was wondering why this whole quarantine thing became an issue, but upon reflection, it is good because it gives the government an opportunity to put together a plan. People who want to vote will likely vote because we never were capable of adequately policing people in quarantine, whether with COVID or due to COVID exposure. So my word to all voters is be extra cautious come election day. Yeah, well, that's likely what's going to happen there. Would there be any international observers during this election? So far, I haven't heard anything about it.
Haven't heard anything either.
No. This one says they need to put the ink in a ketchup bottle or something instead of everyone dipping their finger in the same container. Oh, individual
I love the
ones.
idea.
Individual
Or we
ones.
could just not do that, but whatever.
Okay. Let's take some more calls before we have to take a break. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
Yes, sir. Good morning to all.
Hi.
Yeah, what I'd like to say is that, the PLP is not mentioning, they are not promising us to implement legislation for fixed election day. And they need to be asked that, their leaders need to be asked that, the need for fixed election day to avoid all of this, right? As well as the PLP in fact, all the opposition parties are responsible for not mentioning. They mention the need for everything else, but they never mentioned before now the need for the election to be for plans to have an election in these times. They always saying they need to do it because of the budget, because of the F&M. We need to raise taxes, and you know what I'm saying. And never the protocol, the need for protocols in the event that the election is called. You see, in the United States, these conversations was being had long before the election. You see, so they all are responsible, and the people should hold all of them accountable. So I don't see why.
No, you're making a great point.
Hullabaloo is about. They both even the media is responsible as well. Thank you.
Yeah, perhaps. Yep. Everybody could have come forward with their idea. I don't think what Jamaica did will work here. But hey, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Are you there? No? All right. Let's read some more of your messages. This person says, I need more patience as a journalist. Just how people can dress to protect themselves while taking the test and dealing with the COVID patients, they could put protection in place for people to vote. Okay. I won't be voting. My life is more important than any party. Well, I don't know if you should look at it as party, right? It's just the future of the country. But I hear you. I do hear you. Okay.
I mean, how are we really voting for the future of the country?
Oh,
though,
yes.
Dwight?
Oh, yes, you are. Oh, my. You've been doing that. You've been doing that. And what's happened, anyway. But that's what happens. Different choices some time back might have meant we would be in a different place right now. So you are, whether you think it's just for 5 years. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, no, I don't think it's just for 5 years. I mean, I understand, your point, but I just saying, it's more like who control the contracts for the next 5 years is really what it's all about. But anyway.
Well.
Whatever. I don't have much faith.
Okay.
Sorry, I retract that statement. I have no faith.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's different. It's going to be great, though, Dwight. You should definitely get out there and vote for something. I don't know what for, but you should vote for something.
Mm-hmm. This person says here, Dwight and Don, what about this? People who have COVID-19 should not be allowed to vote. However, those who have been exposed and committed to quarantine should be allowed to vote if they present a negative test at the polls. The government could pay half the cost. Could this work? Half the cost.
The government's not going to pay anything.
And I don't
find it hard to believe.
And then you're going to have a problem with the public saying, I don't know, why should I have to pay to vote? And that's essentially what you're saying they have to do. So that's going to be a big problem for a lot of people, for most people, as it should.
But my question is still the same, though, Dwight. Is it that persons will be physically prevent voting if they're supposed to be in quarantine? Is there going to be a list handed out at the polling stations. And if your name is on that list, like I said, will you be escorted off the premises because you're supposed to be in quarantine, or are they just going to let you, like, what's going to happen?
You know the answer to that. They don't know.
I mean,
They
my
don't even
belief of
know.
the answer is absolutely nothing. You could have COVID, probably still go there.
Hey, the way how things work in this place, there are going to be people on the ballot at some of these polling stations who people won't know who they are. So to know who's in court, come on now. So, anyway.
All right. So, like I said, it's going to happen anyway. So, you know.
So that's so this is what the public needs to keep in mind, that you don't know what's going to be around you on voting day. Be very careful. Make sure you might want to take a broom with you so the person behind you knows how far to stand back from you and in front of you and that type of thing, right? Because wacky things clearly will be happening on election day. Wacky things. Anyway, this person says here, please ask the nation to pray for our police officers. So many died recently from COVID. Yes, absolutely. Police and the medical professionals, so many. I would that they put protocols in place for quarantine people rather than they just show up anyway, which is what's going to happen if they don't put in the protocols. We're smart people. Let's put our heads together and figure out the safest way to do this. Drive-through voting, perhaps. One person per car. Drive up, vote, and drop it in a box, maybe. Yeah, and maybe that's what, as a previous caller said, that could be what the other parties could.
Yeah, that's not
their
make
ideas,
a lot of sense,
right?
That's not
Say
make a
what
lot
you
of
think
sense.
could
Right?
work here.
It makes sense, so it probably ain't gonna happen.
Dwight, for those in quarantine, the government could send up a drive-through in the various constituencies, like an assembly line. If a solution is not found, they will still stand in line to vote with everyone else, which will increase the spread of COVID. Okay. This one says, isn't it all possible for the same web designers that created the very efficient Vax website to have a portal for quarantine voters equipped with their constituency and the candidates so they can vote as well? Oh, boy.
If they had time, sure, that sounds like a great idea. But I am just so... You know what, Dwight? I just get like the flashbacks of the U.S. presidential election and the accusations of voter fraud. Like, that just pops right into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. It's possible, but at this point, it's too close to the date.
Yeah.
And all these are great ideas, Dwight. But if we've learned anything about this country, it's like if it's a great idea that makes sense, that's precisely why it ain't gonna happen. So yeah, it's gonna be a paper ballot. You're gonna walk in there, and you're gonna put your little mark on the paper, and then you're gonna put your hand in the ink, and then you're gonna walk out.
Yeah,
that's it.
A couple more messages. We got to take a break, but this person says there's no legal quarantine opposed to quarantine from day one of the pandemic. We're not following that suggestion. This is a non-issue because we know those who want to vote with or without COVID will be right there on the line to vote, just as they are behind you on the lines in the stores and the banks
Precisely.
and everywhere. We are told to assume everyone has COVID and practice social distancing and mask wearing. Yeah, I think, as you've been hearing with the calls this morning, this is another political football there, trying to make it look. I'm not trying to stick up for them, so please don't say it. But I'm just saying this is a convenient football now to make them look incompetent, the government, right? And what about this? You're taking away our rights. Oh, my gosh. And everyone's going to be there voting. Everybody knows this, unless you are coughing and hacking up the place and sweating like a dog. Nobody's going to notice or know what's happening. I'm not encouraging you to do your foolishness if you know you should be in quarantine, but we know this is going to happen. They're making this an issue because it makes them look bad. And it's unfortunate, but hey. Let's take these calls very quickly. We've got to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Don.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, I would just want to ask a quick question. Was Fred mentioning and Don sure about what they was asking you about the question about what happened for the past couple of weeks, these rallies and these drive-throughs? I mean, persons not social distance, nobody wearing masks, but everybody in the road shaking up and throwing up themselves, and they think that make common sense. And we have COVID going on now, so what do you think is going to happen after the election or after advanced voting? And if you say the health system is in a dire and critical care now, what which is going to happen in the next 3 weeks after the election.
Oh, yeah. Next week. Starting next week.
But that's right.
Yeah.
This week and next week.
Because the
I'm
2
saying what's
weeks
gonna
since
happen
the first
3 weeks
rally,
after.
since nomination day, will be next weekend. I'm expecting.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
what's going to happen then?
It's not going to be pleasant.
Everybody complaining about the election. Election is called, but nobody, none of them, PLB, F&M, Coalition, nobody, because those motorcades I saw on Saturday was totally ridiculous. And nobody social distancing, everybody under one breath. And they say they want to lead this country. Right, we got to come on. We got to think seriously if we want to change this country. That didn't make no sense. But y'all have a good one and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You too. All right. And our final call before we take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm Dwight.
Oh. Again? Okay. Yep. No? What happened? What happened? Okay. Yeah. Final couple messages as we go to the break. This person here says, oh, a long list here. There are many avenues that could have been taken to facilitate those in quarantine. Vote on a separate day. Enter the buildings to vote through a designated area or exit ways and rooms. Create a hybrid medical visa-like facility to allow for those people to vote. Okay. I do think you'll have some challenges getting people to work those days or those polls. I do really believe you're going to have a big issue there. But another one, the PLP called for the election now. The PM should not have listened to them. I don't know if that's what he did, but he certainly did it. And the same pressure you put on the people in red, please call out the two-tongue talks of the people in yellow. They tried for the PM to ring the bell, now saying something different. They were on stage with virtual rallies saying he pandemic, but earlier the same day had people in the road and on buses packed together. They're confusing with the two-tongue talks. Is this what we have in store? Well, we're getting that from all sides. All sides. And another one here. I hear that all people talking about is how they feel about COVID people voting, but I ain't hear no one say what the law says. Let's examine the law, then speak. What law? What law? Okay. Another one here. Okay, lots of messages about everything. The need for a drive-through voting. There's a lot of people saying that's what we should be doing here. Drive-through voting. We'll ask our guest when we come back from the break what he thinks about that. And a lot more. Stay tuned. We've got Miles LaRota with the PLP candidate for Pinewood coming up after this. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, but who are they to judge us? Simply cause our hair is long. Oh, you know we've got to find a way. Bring some understanding here today. Pick it now.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
And we've got your first look at traffic for this morning. Brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, usual hotspots are hot already this morning. We've got Mile Butler Highway seeing some heavy traffic from Fire Trail all the way up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway. Seeing some real issues, especially the closer you get to Harold Pond. You're going to notice that there. Gladstone Road looking a bit better for you. You'll have ways to go if you're heading northbound to JFK Drive before you get stuck in traffic there. Elsewhere, we've got Blue Hill Road looking busy for you just north of Soldier Road, the northbound lanes to Independence Drive. And further south, if you're heading northbound between St. Vincent Road and Carmichael Road, just north of Carmichael Road as well. Independence Drive also busy westbound Blue Hill Road. East Street South, also seeing some heavy traffic, especially between the roundabout with Independence Drive at East West Highway and Soldier Road, the northbound lanes mainly there. Building traffic on Carmichael westbound to Coral Harbor Road. And then just at the major intersections in eastern New Providence, Prince Charles and Fox Hill, Prince Charles and Beatrice, and Prince Charles, Soldier Road, Robinson Road, and East-West Highway and Marathon Robinson. Building traffic there. Marathon building traffic northbound to Wolf Road. Those are your hotspots. That's your real-time traffic in your morning blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined. We've got another check of your weather for today. We've got rich tropical moisture interacting with lingering troughing to the north of the Bahamas. That's going to continue to generate bouts of unsettled weather across portions of the island chain. Meanwhile, sea swells generated by Hurricane Larry will closures through tonight. For today, for the northwest and central Bahamas, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Turning warm tonight. Showers may be locally heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times, especially across the northwest Bahamas. Expect gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. For the southeast Bahamas, partly sunny to sunny and hot with a few light showers and a slight chance of isolated thunderstorms, becoming mostly fair and warm with a stray shower or two possible tonight. A small craft caution is in effect due to swells. Temperature-wise, today, look for highs getting up to around 91 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the heat index will be in the triple digits again, near 105 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Everybody's being asked to limit outdoor activity and to hydrate with these triple-digit heat indices. And overnight lows tonight getting down to about 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. In your extended outlook, extreme moisture and troughing will gradually lift northwards, keeping rain chances and the potential for severe weather elevated across the northwest Bahamas. Meanwhile, moderates continue to pop up across Atlantic shorelines through to Thursday. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms in the northwest Bahamas. Mostly sunny and warm with isolated showers in the central and southeastern islands. Thursday, partly sunny and warm with isolated showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the extreme northwest Bahamas. We've got Hurricane Larry out in the Atlantic, still several hundred miles southeast of Bermuda. Elsewhere, we've got a surface trough interacting with an upper-level disturbance in the south-central Gulf of Mexico. It has about a 30% chance of tropical cyclone formation through the next 5 days. That system is slowly migrating towards the northeast. That's your Morning Blend weather check. We'll be back with more Morning Blend after these messages here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Be prepared for the rainy season with an RBC loan to fund your rainy season essentials. For hurricane shutters, generators, solar power systems, or general home repair, RBC offers a range of solutions. Let us help you get started at rbc.com/Caribbean/get-a-loan. Special conditions apply. Reimagine your rainy season readiness with RBC financing.
Best rate, no delay. Best rate, no delay.
BTC gives more savings on the best fiber internet. It's super fast with super savings in every package. Compare and see for yourself. Enjoy up to 150 megabits per second plus 157 TV channels and unlimited home phone minutes for only $99.99.
Best rate, no delay.
Visit a BTC store to sign up for the best internet experience on the Bahamas' best fiber network. Conditions apply.
You've tried everything. ASUS with your mother's cousin's sister's auntie, and even hiding your money under your mattress. But is your money safe? Your Bahamian dollar deposit in a member bank or credit union is insured up to $50,000. If anything happens, your deposit up to the insured value will be returned to you thanks to Deposit Insurance. Visit Deposit Insurance Corporation at www.dic.bs.
Protection for your money guaranteed with DIC.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Hospitals are collapsing. Doctors say our healthcare system is past the breaking point. Nurses disrespected. Not enough beds or resources. Now, this government failed to disclose who's really benefiting from millions, hiding who profits from travel visas, from food assistance, from COVID testing fees. So while healthcare collapsed, who got rich? The F&M can't fix the crisis. They are the crisis.
This has been a paid political announcement by the PLP.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Breakfast just got better at Wendy's. Introducing the Breakfast Biggie Bag. Enjoy a double sausage muffin with 2 square sausage patties, a freshly cracked egg, and cheese served on a toasted English muffin, a medium waffle fries, and an orange juice for only $5.25, VAT inclusive. Add an apple pie for just $1 more.
Say what?
At Wendy's, better breakfast is all day. Offers valid in participating locations. Wendy's, different inside and out.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Pick me, you acting like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who'll treat you right. Shawty, I'll give you one.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Don Sargent. And this morning we continue meeting some of the candidates in the upcoming general election, just 9 days away now. Today we were very pleased to have with us the PLP candidate for Pinewood, Miles LaRota. Miles LaRota, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Bahamas. Good morning, Pinewood. Glad to be with you.
Hi. Hey, there was some show, but we're happy to have you on now. We're going to get into all that in a bit. We've been talking about this issue with the quarantine. I just want to get your views on all of this. So, how do you feel? Before we talk about you and why you're running and Pinewood, before we get to that, what are your views on this quarantine situation and whether people in quarantine and those with COVID, with symptoms, whether they should be allowed to vote in this upcoming election?
Dwight, there's have to be a delicate balance. My family, like every other Bahamian family, has been touched by COVID. I've lost my uncle, the late Hubert Williams, a few days ago. That have to be balanced with a person's right to vote. What are going to be the protocols for ensuring that voters are able to vote and to vote safely? And so I have no issue with everybody who is eligible to vote voting, but that also have to be balanced with the safety of those who are voting.
Yeah. Do you know people are saying they're giving some good ideas this morning? Some I never would have thought of, but do you know whether your party has given any ideas on how it can be done safely, as opposed to waiting for the Parliamentary Commission, that department, to come up with the ideas?
My party's position is one that has been very consistent. We'll advise all who are voting on the 9th and on the 16th of September to wear a mask, to wear it properly, meaning over your nose, over your mouth. Make sure you sanitize your hands before and after voting, and also social distancing. I think there is no foolproof way, but we have to be as careful as we can during this moment.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say to many observers, many people here who are saying we're looking for trouble with the rallies, with the motorcades, with the festivities at party headquarters? that so many people seem to be just forgetting that we are in the middle of this pandemic, the worst part we've seen ever, and that we're looking for trouble the next few weeks.
Dwight, I'm from the casino business. And, you know, there's a mantra there, you play the hands that you were dealt. Elections were scheduled for next year, May. The Prime Minister decided that he was going to go early, as predicted by the Progressive Liberal Party, and that's why the Progressive Liberal Party was ready for the early election. And so we are where we are, and all we can do is make as good as this bad situation has presented us. The elections are coming, and so we just have to carry ourselves in a respectable manner for ourselves and also for...
They tell us, well, some people are telling us it's rude to ask, but we're asking everybody who's on about vaccination. And are you vaccinated? How do you feel about vaccinations and where we are with vaccinations?
Oh, I'm not offended at all. I'm fully vaccinated as of June 29th. I believe that everyone should be vaccinated. It's a personal choice, and so I don't beat those over the head who decided. And some people have genuine reasons. I know the alternate realities are out there now. Conspiracy theories are out there. And so there are people who are genuinely afraid. However, I am vaccinated. I encourage my team to be vaccinated. I encourage the country to be vaccinated.
Okay, we've got a break for news. When we come back, I want to talk about you and Pinewood and where people remember you from, the Public Disclosure Commission. We want to talk about that as well. This is Morning Blend. We're talking with Miles LaRota. He's the PLP candidate for Pinewood. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Be the one who treat you right. Reason one, shorty, I gave you all of me. Reason two, there's no one better than me. Reason three, you and me. Why would you need more? So there is no four, except that I will be yours. Think about it.
On Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. You can tweet us, text us, Facebook us, text us 422-4796. And now at 8:22, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got rich tropical moisture interacting with lingering troughing to the north of the islands. That's going to continue to generate bouts of unsettled weather across portions of the island chain. Meanwhile, sea swells generated by Hurricane Larry out in the Atlantic will begin to impact Atlantic exposures through tonight. For the northwest and central Bahamas today, your forecast calls for variably cloudy, hot and humid conditions with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Turning warm tonight, showers may be locally heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times, especially across the northwest Bahamas. For the southeastern islands, partly sunny to sunny and hot with a few light showers and a slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm today, becoming mostly fair and warm with a stray shower or two possible tonight. A small craft caution is in effect due to swells. Temperature-wise today, look for highs getting up to around 91 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the heat index will be in the triple digits again, and everybody's being advised to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activities. We're looking at heat indexes near 105 degrees Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. In your extended outlook, we've got streaming moisture and troughing that will gradually lift rain chances and the potential for severe weather elevated across the northwest Bahamas. Meanwhile, moderate sea swells will continue to pop up along Atlantic shorelines through to Thursday. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, variably cloudy, hot, humid, scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms, mainly in the northwest Bahamas. And that's going to turn mostly sunny and warm with isolated showers in the central and southeast Bahamas. Thursday, partly sunny and warm with isolated showers and thunderstorms, mainly in the extreme northwest Bahamas. In the tropics, besides Larry, we'll talk about Larry in a bit, we've got surface trough interacting with an upper-level disturbance. South-central Gulf of Mexico right now, that's where it is. It has a low chance, 30% chance of tropical cyclone formation through the next 5 days. That system's going to migrate northeastwards. With Larry, it is still a major hurricane expected to cause dangerous surf and rip currents along western Atlantic shores later this week. That includes us. So as of 5 o'clock, it was about 830 miles southeast of Bermuda, not a direct threat to us or even Bermuda, but the sea swells could be a challenge. Larry is moving toward the northwest near 10 miles per hour, and its general motion is expected to continue through Wednesday. A turn toward the north-northwest and north will, with an increase in forward speeds forecast by tomorrow. Maximum sustained winds are near 120 miles per hour with higher gusts. Larry's a Category 3 hurricane. Some gradual weakening is forecast during the next several days, though. That's what's happening with your weather. That's your Morning Blend Weather Check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And in another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Things are looking busy out there in a number of areas. We've got Gladstone Road seeing some heavy traffic just north of Fire Trail in the northbound lane up to JFK Drive. Milo Butler Highway, the heaviest traffic we're seeing anywhere at this point, from Fire Trail all the way up to Tonic Williams-Darling Highway. That's going to be slow going for you there. Carmichael eastbound, building traffic, especially the closer you get to Blue Hill Road, but it's going to be back to quite a ways for you this morning. All the way from essentially Fire Trail. And so keep that in mind this morning. Blue Hill Road also busy for you from just south of St. Vincent Road all the way up to Independence Drive, especially north of Soldier Road, and further south as you get close to Zion Boulevard and Cowpen Road. That intersection is looking pretty congested this morning as well. Building traffic on Carmichael Road westbound out to Coral Harbor Road. And then in east hotspots, Fox Hill Road and Yamacraw Road up to Prince Charles Drive, that intersection looking busy. And Prince Charles and Beatrice and Prince Charles and Soldier Road and Robinson Road. And Marathon Road northbound, especially heading up to Wolf Road, Mackey Street at pockets as well. So just a lot you're going to be dealing with this morning. You need your patience on the streets. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Pick me, you acting like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who will treat you right. Reason one, shawty, I gave you all of me. Reason two, there's no one better
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Don Sargent. We are talking with the PLP candidate for Pinewood, Miles LaRota. And Miles LaRota, we heard you earlier say that you were in the casino at one point, and we know that you're an attorney, I believe. Tell us.
Dwight, I'm presently an attorney, past 15 years. Before that, I worked in the hotel, the old Resorts International, now Atlantis. I started out as an assistant cook in the Coyaba Room, the Bahamian Club in the Villa d'Est. I transferred into the casino in 1987. I was a dealer from 87 to 92, supervisor from 92 to 97, and pit manager from 97 to 2001. So I've worked in the hotel industry for a total of 19 years, over 19 years, front house and back house.
Wow, okay, so you've had quite a few different careers there, quite a few different experiences.
Yeah, before that, I'm a product of the public school system, graduate of S.C. McPherson and A.F. Adderley. I started my education in Crooked Island at the Morstown Primary School, which is actually in Cripple Hill, my settlement. I lived with my paternal grandparents from 5 months until I had started school and then moved back to Nassau with my parents. So I've worn a lot of hot hats in my life.
Yeah,
right?
seems so. All right, so what made you want to put on the political hat?
Along my journey, I've been blessed. This is a country where both of my parents, my maternal and paternal grandparents, were maids or homekeepers. My grandmother, the late Ethel LaRota and late Holston LaRota, my grandparents, who I lived in Crooked Island, they graduated at 13. My grandmother never had a passport. She didn't believe the world was big enough for her to move outside of her island other than to Nassau. And so I've seen us come a long way. The country's been good to me. 2 generations later, I'm an attorney, trained in England. I've benefited much from this country, and I think I have an obligation to help others who may feel that they are hopeless, especially those kids of the public school system. I was in the, SC in the 70s and AF graduated in the early 80s. And I could tell you the stigma that was attached. SC was the school that the renegades went to, and AF was the school where kids who couldn't get into government high, nothing good was supposed to come out of those places. Wow. And so, been there, done that. I want to encourage those who feel marginalized that if you stay the course, if you work hard, if you set your dreams, that, all things are possible.
Wow. So why Pinewood? Why Pinewood, this area, which has a whole set of challenges of its own?
Yeah, Dwight, I actually lived in Pinewood for about 6 years. So I am one of those who come out there in the early 80s, mid 80s to early 90s. And so it's a community that, even though I've moved out a while back, I still have close ties. I know what the situations are. I know what it is to take off my shoes and roll up my pants to walk into Sugar Apple Street when it rains. I know that there are homes there where there is no carpeting for the mere reason that every time it rains or heavy rain, it's going to flood out. I know that there is a situation where a lot of the youth, there's high unemployment, especially among young men. And so I came out of that community, and I believe that my past experience give me an insight into what goes on and what could be done to help them.
What about the flooding? Is there anything you can do if you become the member of parliament? Do you have a plan for that?
Right, this problem has been around for a long time. If I'm not mistaken, I think the first MP for Pinewood as a constituency, former AG Allison Maynard Gibson, started the process by drilling wells there. Over the years, it don't seem as if those wells have been maintained. There have been a few studies that have been done and varying figures. You're talking about millions of dollars, but it's going to have to be, and I've spoken to the leader of the party, it's going to be a legacy issue for me. Pinewood has not returned an MP from it was formed. And I think if that matter is not addressed, we could be looking at it. I think positive, but I have to be realistic also. The party, the leader of the party has given a firm commitment that the flooding situation in Pinewood, which also affects Nassau Village, some parts of Bamboo Town and South Beach, is high on the next government. It's going to be a priority issue to bring relief to those communities once and for all.
So will you have to do new studies, or will you go back to some of the previous studies? What is the immediate course of action, or do you have that as yet?
I think that there is enough information based on the studies that there is a solution. It just requires the political will to address it. You know, it could be 20 million. I think there have been figures north of $20 million with regards to bringing relief to that community. We have put $20 million into sidewalks, so where there were asphalt. So tell me that tens of millions of dollars invested into a community to solve the flooding crisis, and also will allow then for those homes that are there to increase in value, where people can, after they decided that I could put carpets back in my house because every time it rains, the water went up. I won't have to buy sheetrock. I don't have to worry about the mold issue. I don't have to worry about my car being submerged, especially in those low-lying areas. I think my personal view is that it would be money's well spent. And so it's just needing the political will.
Do you think some people will have to be moved, that they won't be able to stay in their houses in order to rectify this issue, that their area where they are might have to become a canal or something, or a lake? Do you think that is a possibility here?
Well, Dwight, the PLP has always been a party with a social conscience. And so if there are situations where people will be moved, I'm sure if that is the case, then those who we move will have to relocate and compensate them. It's no different than the Charles Sanders Highway that was pushed to bring traffic relief to those communities. I see no difference.
All right. So we're inviting our listeners for you to text us 422-4796. Maybe they are Pinewood residents who have some questions for you. I do want to ask you, though, about the Public Disclosure Commission. We know when you were heading that commission, there were some issues each year with MPs. It's more than MPs, but officials who were supposed to disclose not meeting the deadline, and we remember lots of deadlines being pushed back. You got a lot of flack for it, but I do note that you said that your hands were often tied by the legal requirements of the commission. Let's talk about that. What happened there? How bad a situation is it getting officials to comply with this law?
Dwight, I always referred to myself, actually the name was coined by a good friend of mine, Philip McKinsey, that I was a toothless tiger. If you read the Public Disclosure Act, it's really ties the hand of the commission because it's not an independent commission. It doesn't have autonomy. It has no budget. It is basically a department of the cabinet office. You know, the prime minister leads the executive team in the country. He is subject to the Public Disclosure Act and the secretary to the cabinet. And we cannot have an effective anti-corruption agency if those who are required to be subjected to this piece of legislation and this act are actually those who are in charge of the committee that's overseeing it. I mean, that is the reality. There was a Messick report that was done, I think, by the OAS in 2015 that made recommendations. During my last term at the commission, or during my term, during the F&M's term, you know, I met with the prime minister, and we as a body actually read those recommendations into our our meeting with the Prime Minister. And one of the things that we want to stress is this commission should be independent. The Public Disclosure Commission have no bank accounts. Before anything is done, and you read the act, it has to be done with written consent from the Attorney General. And so this act that was passed in 1976 is 2021. There are certain positions that were subject to the act that did not exist back then, that positions are now, or people now, who are required to act when the act was implemented, those positions did not even exist. And so if we're going to be serious, and I have had the privilege to go to an anti-corruption integrity commission conference in the Cayman, and I could tell you the Bahamas lagged far behind other jurisdictions in our region with regards to anti-corruption and integrity. It's going to be, you have to have an independent group who is not dependent on the government to print those disclosures. I think from I was there, I may have had maybe one or two disclosures that were done. We are years behind because we have a situation with not only the 39 members of parliament and 16 senators, but you also have senior civil servants.
Right.
And it's an office that is understaffed of resources. And we need an integrity commission that stands alone, that is independent, that do not have to deal with the executive or the legislative and just let the cards fall where they may. Dates are
Is there
given.
any plans to change this? Is there any plans to bring forth or to amend some legislation or some new legislation to address any of this?
Not mistaken, before the House was dissolved or prorogued, there was a bill that I think was tabled, the integrity bill, but it was never read and passed into law. So the next government will have to deal with that. The next PLP government will have to deal with that.
And does the PLP government are you pledging that you
Is
will
on the agenda,
definitely
next question.
address this? Will you definitely address this?
Well, I say this, I would have spoken to the leader of the party, and he has said to me that he has no problem in bringing that piece of legislation that deals with anti-corruption, integrity commission.
Now, tell me if I've gotten this wrong, but I remember when you were heading the commission, the media, especially around the deadlines, would press you about who hasn't disclosed, and you wouldn't do it. Tell us about that. Why was that the case? Shouldn't folks who don't declare be shamed? Shouldn't that list be published? Shouldn't we all know who the people applying with this?
Dwight, if I'm not mistaken, before I became chairman, I don't think people knew the Public Disclosure Commission existed. I tried to balance the public's right to know along with confidentiality and the hands that I was dealt. I would have said to members of the press, look, I could give you the numbers of those who have not disclosed. It's incumbent on you to put them on the record. It's either yes or no. And if it's not yes, everything else is no.
All right, so do you believe that the commission should have the ability to expose that list or to publish it?
Absolutely. Politicians, whether they be elected or appointed, know the rules of the game. They know this act exists. They know that once they become a public figure, that is one of the criteria. And so there is no excuse for those individuals who take on that responsibility not to disclose their assets. If you don't want your business in the public domain, then don't run for public office. That's my personal view. There is no excuse for individuals who are in public life having an issue with disclosing their personal wealth.
Remind our listeners what the penalties are according to the law right now for failure to disclose.
I think up to $10,000 in monetary. I think it's about 6 months or to 2 years with regards to jail time, but nobody has ever paid a penalty, to my knowledge, or served any time with regard to not disclosing.
My goodness. Wow. All right. When we come back, we have a lot more questions for you, Miles Larota. Thank you so much. Stick around with us. We're going to be back. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
What to do? Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who will treat you right. Reason one, shawty, I gave you all of me.
Do you need to insure your vehicle at the best price? With the most options and free installment payments, CG Atlantic agents offer affordable coverage for everyone. Just call 677-6422 to find out how you can protect your vehicle with extra options to keep you covered. Why wait? Call CG Atlantic agents today at 677-6422. Visit us online at cgatlanticagents.com or in person at Atlantic House, 2nd Terrace and Collins Avenue. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
Now that your age is not everything, now that your kids call you for advice, now that you can achieve anything you set your mind to, why stop? Nourish your strength and energy with 18 antioxidants, key vitamins and minerals to support your immune system. Now that it's your moment to enjoy your vitality, why stop? Your life, your health, your Ensure.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Hospitals are collapsing. Doctors say our healthcare system is past the breaking point. Nurses disrespected. Not enough beds or resources. Now, this government failed to disclose who's really benefiting from millions in COVID contracts, hiding who profits from travel visas, from food assistance, from COVID testing fees. So while healthcare collapsed, who got rich? The F&M camp from the crisis.
This has been a paid political announcement by the PLP.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Pick me, you acting like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, along with Don Sargent. We're talking with Miles Larota, the PLP candidate for Pinewood. And just one more question on the Public Disclosure Commission. Our listeners, some people are texting, people are messaging us saying they want you to commit and give a deadline, a timeline as to when you will seek, if you are elected, push for these changes to the Public Disclosure Commission. If you can say that definitively, that you're going to work to make sure this happens.
Dwight, I firmly believe it, and it is my position of what I said, that I, once elected, will push, will ask, will advocate for politicians to be transparent in their dealings as to what their assets and liabilities are.
Mm-hmm. Can you say that within the first year, if you're
right, it's safe to say within the first year. Am I advocating for that from day one? Actually, when the results will come, it's a different story. But my personal position, having sat as chairman of the Public Disclosure Commission, and I sat with the PLP and with the F&M. I actually served twice as long under the F&M as I did with the PLP. But in sitting there and going through disclosures and seeing how leaders, and I use that quote unquote, not just politicians, but senior civil servants also, that there must be transparency and accountability for our leaders in the country.
Mm-hmm. Got some interesting questions here from our listeners. Someone's asking, do you support term limits and a recall system for elected officials?
Term limits, it sounds sexy, Dwight. Is it really democratic when there are term limits? The people should choose. If you're doing a good job, then you should be rewarded. No politician is going to last longer than the people want them to stay there. If you're talking about a particular position as of prime minister, I don't have a major problem with it. There are pros and cons. Good prime ministers are usually rewarded politically. Some do lose also. It depends on the moods and the crisis. I mean, you look at the last government, the PLP returned 4 MPs, but during the last 5 years, the PLP administration opened Bahama, they opened Warwick, they opened Marriott, they opened Island House, Memories in Grand Bahama, increased the minimum wage. And so it's a popularity contest. That's the reality.
You worked in the casino. What's your view on Bahamians being allowed to gamble in casinos?
I think that no Bahamian should not have the same right as a foreigner. That's a personal opinion of mine, and that it really
so you support Bahamians being able to gamble in casinos?
Yes. I know what it is as a pit manager to have a Bahamian accompany a guest in the casino at a table and they can't sit down. And the question is, what kind of country is this that me as a foreigner could come here and gamble and my friend who is a Bahamian can't sit at the table?
We're going to get to those calls in just a moment, callers. But local government, I'm a giant advocate for local government for New Providence. What's your views on local government for New Providence and the role of an MP versus somebody in local government?
Dwight, ideally, local government sounds good. You look in the Family Islands, of which there is local government, and where does the money come from? The money comes from the central government. How many islands could sustain itself? New Providence, Grand Bahama, Abaco, maybe Eleuthera. And so if there is going to be local government, is that local government then going to be required to raise money in those communities? Other than that, we don't really have local government. We have central government just into communities and still controlling the agenda.
Yeah. What's wrong if we do empower the communities to be able to raise their own money and to go and seek out opportunities in businesses? Would that not be a good thing?
Again, Dwight, I do not have an issue with it ideally. I do believe that there are islands in the Bahamas, if forced to raise their own capital to do their own works, that there are enough people who could get the job done. I mean, most of these islands, the inhabited islands of the Bahamas, have put out some of our best citizens. And so if you were to say, I look at an island like Crooked Island, population of 250 people, under 300. If faced with the reality of having to go on your own as you may, there is enough talent there. I mean, you look at Tony Ferguson from CFAL, and there are many others. So I just call that name in particular, who have done very well in finance. And if put in a position that, look here, the roads are going to cost you $20 million, well, what's going to happen? We are going to have to go and find our own investors who is going to come and invest in the islands, where communities will spring up, where those who want access to utilities or access to anything is to get that done. I genuinely believe that if those islands operated in a federal system similar to the US, where you have to find funding for your community, that it could be done. It may be tough early on, but those islands, especially the southern islands, we know what it is to have to make do with what we have. Yeah. We don't spend what we don't have.
Support, though? Do you support if we were to go local government even if we were to mimic a federal system? Is that something that you would lend your support behind?
I said again. Ideally, I said I support the idea, but what is local government if it's not really a system that is functioning the way local government is supposed to. What we have now are boards that.
I think that was also outlined in part of the report that Dwight would have been a part of, right? Am I mistaken, Dwight?
Yeah, the system would have to change. Exactly what you're saying.
Yep. They recommended several changes as well inside the report. I don't know if the report ever got tabled, though.
Yeah, it did.
I can't speak to that.
It did, but it didn't go out for public consultation for some reason. But yeah, you're right. The system would need to change. What about New Providence, though? Do you think, and especially if you're an MP for Pinewood, how do you see that? What would your role be, and what do you see as your role as an MP?
The role of the MP is to assist its community in bettering of its community, to make sure that you have infrastructure that is there, that is opportunities are created for the inhabitants to better their life, to create an environment where people could exist in the community and where they could feel safe, where they have access to schools in the area. You want healthcare facilities in the area. You want good roads. You want your garbage picked up on time. You want an environment where those who are unemployed could find employment, where those who want assistance with training could find that.
All right. Let's take.
It's a legislate. Okay.
Add that too. Let's take these calls really quickly. Good morning, caller. You are on Morning Blend.
Good morning, Mr. Strachan.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir, and to your co-host and to your guest, Mr. LaRota. Mr. LaRota, I have a question for you, sir. You were the chairman, as you said, of the Public Disclosure Committee. I am sure that you would have remembered a letter I would have sent to you, Mrs. Tanya Cash, on the 4th of April 2016 when Mr. Perry Christie, the PLP, were in power. I'm calling on you to ensure that they comply with the Public Disclosure Act. Sir, I called you. I sent letters to you. You even got angry with me on the phone. Sir, you refused to do your job. I need to know, you now want the people of Pinewood to vote for you, sir. Tell me what makes you think, or us think, the people think, of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to believe that you will do your job as a member of Parliament. You said that you were an attorney. Another question I have for you. There's a public disclosure. It's referred to as Chapter 9, Public Disclosure. Have you, sir, ever seen a gazetted copy of a Public Disclosure Act?
What's the last question again, madam?
Have you ever seen, sir, as an attorney, a copy of the Public Disclosure Act, a gazetted copy of that act, and the Parliamentary Election Act? Have you ever seen a copy of those, sir?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen one, sir?
Yes, I have.
Sir, it does not exist. You can go to government publication, and that is why I've come to the conclusion, sir, that is why you all disobey the law of the land, because really it's not a law. It does not exist. Let me give you an example. Mr. Strachan, thank you for your time. Let me give you an example. It calls on the public disclosure, so-called Public Disclosure Act, calls on persons who are vying to become nominated to also disclose for their spouses and to their children. Even yourself, sir, has not done that. I've seen your name here, Miles Kenworth O. LaRota, and you, sir, yourself have not done that. I'm calling on you, sir, to please call on this government to even cancel these elections because these acts do not exist. Thank you, Mr. Strachan.
Okay, all right.
I would like to respond to
Yes,
that. I completely dismiss Cash, who I know her husband Greg also. With regards to being rude to her, that never happened. She called me. The day she called, I was in a meeting and I told her that I couldn't speak right then. There were correspondence that was sent to people before I was there. I can't speak to what happened afterwards, but we all know that the Public Disclosure Act do exist. I think sometimes people get confused with the parliamentary registration requirement that all politicians seeking office are required to disclose their assets and liabilities. You won't be required to disclose under the Public Disclosure Act until you are elected or appointed. That's the reality.
All right. We are running out of time. I want to ask you about this. There are a lot of people, we asked this for most of the candidates who've been on, though, who are still undecided. They're not affiliated with any of the political parties and still, at this point, don't know what they're going to be doing next week. And what do you say to those who are tired of the seesawing that we're doing and expecting something different based on the promises, but after a couple of years, it seems we're back to the same old playbook? What do you say to those voters who just are disillusioned? They're even talking about not voting and are just sick and tired of the way things have been. As a new candidate, what do you say to people who are feeling like that?
Well, Dwight, I encourage everybody to vote, to exercise their democratic right. If you don't vote, then you shouldn't complain. I understand the apathy. There are individuals who say all of the parties are all the same. I totally reject that argument. You look at the Progressive Liberal Party that has built every major institution, national insurance, whether it be the Defense Force, independence. And then people will say, oh, well, Miles, that was early on. That was during the Pillen era. And I said, no. Well, what about the urban renewal? What about the National Training Agency? What about BAMSI? You know, the PLP has always created the middle class. We have expanded the middle class. We are the party when in power, using the colloquial expression, everybody gets to eat. Look at your position now. And we go into, there was Dorian, there was this pandemic. Dwight, they are tough. I'm not going to minimize. People are dying. People have lost their homes due to these tragedies. When we offer ourselves for leadership, again, you play the hands that you were dealt. The PLP had a term in office when there were 2 hurricanes that affected New Providence, which is the life engine of the country. Was shut down for what? About 4 days? Whatever the situation is, you play the hands that you were dealt. And I think over time, people can compare the 2 parties. You know, I'm hearing the government attack the PLP on what happened. They have been in power for 20 of the last going on 30 years. That is the reality. At which point they're going to realize that, you know, we can't act as if it's pre-92. Whenever the PLP is in power, you could point to things, tangible things, for the betterment of the citizenry of the country. Yes, we bragging about roads and buildings. When you collect taxpayers' money, you're supposed to do that. We are at a point in our life, in development in this country, where you don't brag about spending the people's money. How have you improved their lives? We increased the minimum wage, offer training. We're hearing now about free education. Dwight, I'm an alumni of COB. I benefited from a system, and many others have free education once you met a certain criteria. And so compare the 2 parties. One of them, you can definitely say, look at the institutions that are here, how it affects our lives. We talk about $250 million that was paid out. Was implemented by who? The PLP. Let's remember these things that we take for granted today when we look at the country and the betterment of the country. Look at the party that has been responsible for all of those entities that we take for granted today.
Okay. Miles Lorota, thank you so much. We appreciate your time this morning, and wishing you all the best in Pinewood. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight.
All right. Don, thank you as well. Thank you for being here. We're going to take a break. When we come back with Morning Blend Business, we are talking about the global chip shortage, how that's impacting you as consumers, what you need to know, and how long it's going to last. That's coming up. Stay with us.
Be prepared for the rainy season with an RBC loan to fund your rainy season essentials. For hurricane shutters, generators, solar power systems, or general home repair, RBC offers a range of flexible and competitive financing solutions. Let us help you get started at rbc.com/Caribbean/get-a-loan. Special conditions apply. Reimagine your rainy season readiness with RBC financing.
Hurricane season is here. If you're not prepared, it can really turn your life upside down. Fortunately, there's CG Atlantic General. Our people are here, ready to assist at a moment's notice, with protection like alternative accommodation for those who It's our priority to make sure you have what you need when you need it most. So when your life gets turned upside down, we can help to turn it around. CG Atlantic General. Good like that. Security and General Insurance Company Limited, trading as CG Atlantic General. Contact a CG Atlantic General broker today.
Best rates, no delays. Best rates, no delays.
BTC gives more savings on the best fiber internet. It's super fast with super savings in every package. Compare and see for yourself. Enjoy up to 150 megabits per second plus 157 TV channels and unlimited home phone minutes for only $99.99.
Best rates, no delays.
Visit a BTC store to sign up for the best internet experience on the Bahamas' best fiber network. Conditions apply.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. This morning, we are going to be talking about the globe for a little while now, but we haven't been talking about it much here in the Bahamas at all, but we're going to feel the impacts. Some are saying we are already feeling the impacts of all of this. Our guest this morning is going to talk a bit about that and specifically their sectors and what they are experiencing. And I'm very pleased to have back with us from Fidelity Group, CEO Gowan Bowe, and the Vice President of the Bahamas Motor Dealers Association, who's also with the Bahamas Bus and Truck, Ben Albury. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning. I see you using the technical term semiconductor as opposed to the Bahamian colloquialism chip.
I don't want people to think it's potatoes we're talking about, so we got to get very, very serious about it. All right, so let's talk about this. What is happening here? And everything is pandemic related, but why did it get so bad? How did we get to this point? And how bad a problem is it? Who wants to kick it off with?
Well, I think probably if we step back so that people have an appreciation for why the semiconductor market is so important to the global economy. If you stop and think about your daily lives, is there anything now that doesn't have a chip in it? And forget the conspiracy theorists for a minute who believe that they're trying to put a chip in our brain or through the vaccine and all of the others that have, some of the nonsense we consider. But if you pull out your bank cards, what do you see in them now? A chip. You pull out your national insurance card, you see a chip. You go to purchase an iPad, a tablet, a computer. What do you see or hear and understand being inside of them? Intel, Core. You think about the production facilities. So wherever you go now, we talk about smart technology. And smart technology requires certain technical elements. And the root or the core input into most of those is the semiconductor and chip. And so certainly when we pause and understand what has transpired with the global pandemic, there have been logistics challenges in terms of moving core material or raw materials. There have been labor challenges in terms of persons who have contracted COVID, have been out of the workplace because of COVID, safety measures, etc. And so if we pause and just reflect and say, well, if nearly everything that we use, and now we even right down to our household appliances, use a particular material, and we've had challenges with the underlying raw materials and labor, then what is going to eventually happen? I think that's the starting place.
Yeah, wow. And it's been going on for a while, and we're hearing every month, it seems, that it is getting worse, and what we thought might have improved by the end of this year or early next year may extend even into 2023. So this is frightening. Ben, we know automakers have been the ones talking about this the most, but it's not just, as Gowan just said, not just automakers, but let's get a picture as to how much of an impact this is having on you, even here in the Bahamas.
Yes, Dwight, good morning. I think he hit the nail pretty much on the head as far as the overall what is causing the impacts. Some of this goes back as far as 2018 to 2019, with the trade war between U.S. and China. Also earlier this year in March, one of the largest semiconductor plants in China had a major fire. We're seeing other impacts, as he mentioned, which is raw materials, which is also in high demand and low production, and the costs are skyrocketing. We're seeing shipping logistics issues. We're seeing shipping prices, where container prices now have gone from some $5,000-$6,000 a container. I've heard reports now of people paying as high as $17,000 to $18,000 per container. Used car prices in the States have gone up over 40% due to the lack of ability to secure new vehicles in the States. There's labor challenges. At this point, what I was expecting was too much inventory and too little demand. What I'm seeing now is an inability to secure inventory and an incredibly high demand, especially for high-end vehicles. There seems to be a lot of pent-up, and it's really hard to explain. Being where we are at this point, I think it kind of caught everybody off guard. I'm seeing reports now that Ford, Chevy, Toyota, all of the manufacturers are scaling back. They're cutting production. They're sending staff home because if they can't get the components necessary in order to complete the build, then there's no need to hold on to those people or to keep them coming into work and punching the clock 9 to 5. So, I think that from some of the reports I'm seeing, this is not something that's going to be short-lived. It's going to be something that's going to go on for quite some time. And I think that we're going to continue to feel the effects of this well into next year.
Yeah. And let's talk more about that, the length of time and how this will continue to impact prices. How much higher are these vehicles, new and used, as you mentioned, going to be, and how long will that ever be reversed with these prices? I know that's hard for prices to go down, but let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, used car prices in the U.S. are up about 40%. New car prices in the U.S. are up almost 5%. And as you mentioned just now, the thing that scares me most about inflation is that in most cases, we do not see a reduction that offsets the amount of inflation that's experienced. And right now, building supplies, cars, you name it, food, as we've been warned, is continuing to escalate in price. And I don't think that we're going to see a major reduction in that for quite some time. The real estate market is going crazy right now. It's in very high demand. Construction is booming. It's just it's something that I think we're just going to have to hold on and see where it takes us.
Wow. We'll get back to you on that, Ben. But Gowan, is there anything the financial industry can do about that? Recover, although it's going to be a long time, it seems.
Well, I would first say, I think whilst economics is, I always call it a sentimental study, meaning that the way you feel is the way you behave. And ultimately, the reason you see prices increase is when, as Ben said out, there's a higher demand than there is a supply. So if you think about, when you go out for dinner with your lady friend and there's the last piece of pizza on the plate, right? Ultimately, both of you want that. And it really is a bartering situation to say, well, who's going to give up what in order to have that last piece of that pizza?
Right.
And ultimately, that's the same in general pricing scenarios. So whilst the end consumer in the Bahamas may say, well, I'm not creating this price increase, the reality it is by your demand. So if you're looking for vehicles and the Bahamian motor dealers are trying vehicles in order to supply that demand in the Bahamas, they are placing an onward demand on the manufacturers where they get them from at the source. As an example, that could be building materials, that could be household appliances, food, etc. What you do see reverse, and we have seen it in various countries where they have deflation, which is meaning that they have excess supply and the demand is not there. And I think once we understand that during the pandemic, a lot of what happened was people were bunkered. And so for a long period of time, there wasn't the normal spending, there wasn't the normal consumption. And so what has happened since then is persons who had means, who had savings accumulated, etc., they have, I'm going to call, a spending spree in their sort of mindset that they are actually going to consume, not necessarily because they wanted, but because they couldn't for a long period of time. I think you are that temper. And so when we look on the financial side, you do see it from the Fed. The Fed is, when I say the Fed, the U.S. Federal Reserve. They've indicated that, they haven't seen a rebound in the economy. And so whilst they're seeing inflation, they're not doing anything to stifle it. But you will see certain actions take place globally, which will be increase in interest rates. And I know when I say that in the Bahamas, that's a taboo depending on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to the depositors and I say there's a potential increase in interest rates coming, there's smiles all around. If I'm talking to the borrower, then they're certainly going to be concerned. But that's how you start to control what is excess demand in order to compensate for it. The banking sector or the financial services sector at large, really the role that it is going to play is understanding how do we, if you will, be a significant player in the financing of one, production, and two, possible consumption. And so what do I mean by that? On the production, it is how are you providing financing to those businesses that are in production, that are, and when I say that, I'm not talking about the manufacture of a car, because in the Bahamas, we don't manufacture anything, but it is in terms of providing funding to businesses that have demonstrated they have sort of excess demand for their products. They have a cash flow stream that is going to be very healthy, and they're saying that they need bridge financing to get to the other side, if you will. So they're looking for extended credit lines, borrowings, etc. And that's going to have an opportunity for banks that are prepared to really do proper underwriting and understand that risk. On the consumption side, is really the responsible consumption in terms of saying that persons are going to be wanting to borrow in order to consume. And it is helping to coach them through responsible consumption, borrowing to go on vacation, borrowing to have a high-end vehicle when in reality your income only sustains you having a second-hand vehicle at this point in time. Those are the types of conversations that the financial services industry is going to have to play in terms of saying that we don't have the creation of a bubble in the Bahamas like we've seen in North America in the past, Europe, where when the bubble burst, there was absolute turmoil, collapse, and to be perfectly honest, far greater financial difficulty that has been with us for many, many years from 2008, and some will argue was still there even when the onset of the pandemic.
Oh my! When was the last time we saw an increase in interest rates like that here?
In the Bahamas, we have not seen, certainly for the last 15 years, because even before the pandemic, the changes in the prime rate, and in the Bahamas, unfortunately, we don't have a traded market as you do in North America, Europe, Asia, where there is active securities and bonds and other instruments that are trading to create what I'm going to call a market interest rate. And so we have the prime rate, which the U.S. has as well, which is the rate that theoretically banks exchange amongst themselves. And you do see that the central bank that has principal responsibility for setting that, certainly it has dropped in the last 15 years by over 2%. And so when do you see that type of interest rate starting to increase? For Bahamians, we have to pay very close attention to the United States. We have the benefit of our dollar being pegged to the United States, But in layman's terms, that means that our monetary policy, which means interest rate environment, follows that of the United States. Wow. And so the truth of the matter is, if the United States is concerned about inflation and starts increasing interest rates, the marketplace has to brace itself because there's a possibility that we will. Now, we have a buffer. So the United States interest rates are near zero. Our prime rate by the central bank is at 4.25. So when you look between those ones, there's a significant buffer before there's any reaction. But I don't see it for, several years because we're still in economic doldrums globally. Wow. And I think it's going to be hard pressed to increase interest rates.
We'll go back to the semiconductor issue in a bit. But Ben, when you hear that as an auto dealer, how do you feel when you hear that the interest rates could be going up? Will that make your job that much more difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on the amount of increase, what I've seen on my end on the consumer side is that banks are actually quite aggressive right now with trying. They're very fluid. They're in a position where they're sitting on a lot of money, and their biggest challenge right now, in my opinion, is finding qualified buyers. So if you are a qualified buyer, especially if you're somebody who has, some sort of backing or some sort of security, banks are very keen and very interested in talking to you and in trying to facilitate your needs. And that puts you in a good position right now as a consumer, to be able to negotiate those terms. Because let's face it, the banks, sitting on the money is not doing them any good. It's in their best interest to get the money out there and get it working.
All right. So let's paint a picture for us as to what Bahamians are seeing on dealer lots right now as a result of this chip shortage. What are we looking at? I know personally, I've been in the market, and there's one dealer who told me they have like a couple, literally 2021 models and a 2020 lurking around, and no idea when the 2022s, which are already being launched in some other markets, when they'd be coming here. And they didn't have much of an inventory of 2021 models. So what's going on? Is that indicative of what everybody else is seeing as well?
My number one selling model, by this point of the year, I would have done, probably 40 or 50 units. I've only received 3 units for the entire year.
For 2021?
For the entire calendar year. So it's not that and what scares me the most, I guess, is that, we're continuing to place orders, and the manufacturers are encouraging the dealers to place as many orders as you can, because, if I order 20, I might get 2. If I order 30, I might get 4, So what kind of scares me is, you have this bottleneck effect that I'm worried about, that, what if all of a sudden it breaks loose and then all of a sudden I get 100 vehicles showing up on my door within 30 or 40 days. So, we already project our orders well in advance, and we've had to be very aggressive with our style of ordering in anticipation that, for the stars, and, you might get close to it if you're lucky. But I'm hearing that 2022 production for some manufacturers may be delayed, as they are still trying to catch up on 2021 orders. So you're right. I mean, a lot of people that come here, it's not a matter of, in most cases now, of looking for what you want. It's a matter of, what do you like and what will suit your purpose and be able to get you through for the time being. It's just that difficult. So right now, it's really coming at a bad time for the auto industry, because we were starting to see signs of a rebound, both locally and globally. And the automobile industry in the Bahamas has seen a lot of challenges since 2008. And just as you feel that you were starting to claw your way out of it, then we get hit with this scenario. Yeah. So just keeping my fingers crossed right now, Dwight. Another instance I had with another manufacturer was I had ordered vehicles to come 10, 10, 10, and that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden I get an email one day telling me that I got 30 vehicles on the water and head in my direction. That's great news. But at the same time, as a company that's functioning the way we are now, cash flow is definitely something that you have to be cognizant of. And like I said, that's what concerns me the most about the pressure that's been given for us to place high orders and the inability for the manufacturers to satisfy that need.
Yeah. And as you mentioned earlier, with the container issue, this is the perfect storm, it seems.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been one thing after the next. And in the States, there's labor issues. You know, they're giving people signing bonuses to go back to work. Trucking has gone through the roof. Anybody who's involved in the chain right now, whether it be labor or whether it be shipping, you know, it's almost the shipping lines right now. It's almost extortion. And the problem is they need it, and you know they don't really have any other option.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts us in a bad position.
All right, we're going to take a break and be back with more. We're talking with Ben Albury with Bahamas Motor Dealers Association and Gowan Bow with Fidelity Group. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9.
It's my creation, oh, my creation, it's my creation.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Let me ask you a few questions. What's your name?
Pam.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Beer or wine? Money safe.
It's under my bed, so I guess so.
Are you serious?
Yeah, why?
Unless your money is in a bank or credit union that's a member of the Deposit Insurance Corporation, there's no guarantee it's safe.
Yeah, but what if something happens to the bank?
Your Bahamian dollar deposits are insured up to $50,000, so you'd still be ahead. Plus, your mattress might catch fire. Then what?
Man, those banks and credit unions are looking good right about now.
Visit the DIC's website at www.dic.bs. Protection for your money, guaranteed with DIC.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
Taking the final look now at our traffic watch this morning, we can see minor traffic buildup on the ride in coming over West Bay Street. Getting around the roundabout at Saunders Beach, you've got a minor traffic line coming in from out west, of course, and there's also traffic coming in there from New Providence Avenue on the south side. Then as you get around the roundabout itself heading into the city, well, it gets a bit light until you get up around Fort Charlotte. At that point, traffic slows down going into the city until you pass the points. Inner City Wolf Road, Mackey Street, the Soldier Road, Village Road traffic intersection, Prince Charles Drive, the ride in, all getting busy with that morning traffic. As you cross Soldier Road on Prince Charles Drive and enter into the Marathon and East-West traffic light intersection, there's a slight busyness that you're going to run into up in there. Then over on East Street in the south, as you cross Soldier Road there, at that intersection, as you head into the city along East Street, well, traffic slows up a bit as well. But nowhere is it as backed up and busy as we can see what's happening in the Southwest gateways. Still got extensive traffic lines trying to leave Gladstone Road. Same thing happening on Samala Butler Highway. There has been some change, mind you, where it has lessened a bit, but you still got a hefty traffic line there. And of course, getting out of Carmichael Road too, you've got a lengthy line headed on to Blue Hill Road. The ride along Blue Hill Road has improved somewhat, but still getting over the hill is a challenge until you can get through the $20 million roundabout below. The roundabout at Samala Butler Highway and $20 million is loaded on all sides. You've got heavy traffic line coming in from the west side of that roundabout, as well as a stack of traffic trying to get in on the east side. So that's busy right now, which is also part of the reason that the traffic is being slowed down at the Samala Butler Highway from getting out. So when I final look at traffic this morning, Southwest region still have some challenges getting out of there. The remainder of the island only on a gradual upswing with no delays or congestions to be concerned about. This National Traffic Report is the service of J.S. Johnson. If you're looking for a quote online, you can visit jsjohnson.com direct quote page. Get an online quote for your home, your auto, commercial property, and more. With your Eye Sky look at traffic in real time, I'm PANN.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential Loss Adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential Loss Adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Don't wait for disaster to strike. This hurricane season, be ready. Protect your home with an affordable and comprehensive home insurance policy from Shield Insurance. You can't control what nature blows your way, but with Shield Insurance, you can rest easy as you ride out the storm. Protect your largest and most valuable investment. Don't take a chance. Put your home in our hands.
Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. The Bahamas has been listed as one of 17 tax haven jurisdictions where the most profitable European banks are booking close to $24 million in profits. The Bahamas, Cayman Islands, and the British Virgin Islands were the only Caribbean jurisdictions highlighted by the report. It was released yesterday by the EU Tax Observatory, an independent body funded in part by the European Union. Bermuda, Guernsey, Gibraltar, Hong Kong, Ireland, Isle of Man, Jersey, Kuwait, Luxembourg, Macau, Malta, Mauritius, Panama, and Qatar also on that list. The study tracked the level of evolution of profits, the profits booked by 36 systemic European banks in tax havens over the 2014 to 2020 period, and found that despite the introduction of mandatory information disclosure through country-by-country reporting, bank profitability in the 17 jurisdictions was abnormally high. According to the report, methodologically, the identification of countries in the tax haven list relies on two parameters. It says that they calculate an indicator for low activities in proportion to profits using country-specific profit per employee, and that captures jurisdictions with low substantial activities in proportion to their profits. They also use country-specific effective tax rates, measuring the tax rate applied on profits. It says that jurisdictions are characterized as tax havens based on the combination of the two parameters in an inversely proportional relationship, and that the higher the profit per employee and the lower the effective tax rate, the higher the chance of a country being on the tax haven list. It says that these countries exhibit a higher chance of being used by banks as a means of avoiding taxation of production activities in the country. You can read more about this in today's Guardian business section. Oxford Economics' latest supply chain report reveals that the disruptions in supply chains are likely to persist into mid-2022, especially as the COVID-19 Delta variant remains a threat to global recovery. Those concerns have hit the Bahamas as it has the world, with many companies telling Guardian Business over the past few months that shipping prices have gone up and the likelihood of acquiring products in a timely manner has tanked. According to Oxford Economics, and as stated 1 month ago by Abaco Chamber of Commerce President Ken Hutton, there continues to be a long lead time on everything from windows and more in the construction sector. And WMS Holdings Limited has doubled down in its attempt to get the attention of BPL and the government, releasing a full-page ad in yesterday's papers that features an open letter to the chairman of the power company, Dr. Donovan Moxey. It released a statement on the matter later. In a letter, the statement explained that the letter invited Moxey and his board to reconsider several proposals the company put forward offering debt-free financing and state-of-the-art fuel solutions. It says in its letter, having had no response from BPL and the government since previous letters and numerous communications, we write to you yet again with the same excellent proposal, one which can assist tremendously in overcoming all of the recent and persistent issues that have plagued BPL. It says that WMS and BPL both want what's best for the country, reliable and affordable energy solutions, and a pathway to achieving just that. You can read about that in today's Guardian business section. Overseas, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson announcing today he plans to keep an election promise to grapple with the rocketing cost of the long-term care needed by Britain's older population. To do it, he broke another election vow not to raise taxes. Johnson told lawmakers in the House of Commons that his conservative government had made the difficult but responsible decision to hike taxes in order to raise £36 billion, or $50 billion, over 3 years for social care and the overstretched National Health Service. The strains of the coronavirus pandemic have left NHS facing a backlog of millions of delayed appointments and procedures. Johnson says there will be no more dither and delay, his words, about reforming social care. And he said the governments have ducked the problem for decades. That burden of funding care for older, sick, and disabled adults in Britain currently falls largely on individuals who often have to deplete their savings or sell their homes to pay for it. 1 in 7 is £100,000 or $138,000, which the government calls the cost of care catastrophic and often unpredictable. Closer to home in your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Monday. Your market movers: Cable Bahamas moving 3,500 shares, closing unchanged at 325. Commonwealth Brewery moving 5,769, unchanged at 599. Consolidated Water unchanged at 242. Emira Incorporated unchanged at 1156. The BISX All Share Index closing at 2,066.95, unchanged. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report, brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Science, not what teachers said to do, making dreams come true, living tissue, warm flesh, weird science.
We're back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight, Gowan Bowe and Ben Albury, we are talking about the semiconductor shortage, the chip shortage, the global shortage, and the impact we're seeing here. Ben's outlining that scenario for us, and as we just heard in the business report, we've got the container shipping issues, supply chain problems, likely to go on for a long time, just facing a number of challenges there. So if you are in the market for a new car, Ben, just what do you do? What if you need one? If you've been holding off, there have been so many reasons to hold off before, and you were ready for one now. Where does this leave you?
Dwight, I guess if I was a consumer right now, I would make my rounds and I would keep an open mind as I'm shopping, because this is not a Bahamas problem. This is not a local dealer problem. This is an international problem. So, you may have to, adjust some of what you may want, or you may have to get a little more than you like. It's just what I've been having to do is, as a consumer, and as I go to certain businesses around the island, I'm in need of things. If I see something and I know I need it, or I know I may need it soon, then I try to take advantage of it while it's available, because in a lot of cases, that inventory is not being refilled in a timely manner. So, I would just tell people to do your research, go around to the various dealers, see what's out there. Just keep an open mind. Challenges, and it may not be your usual shopping experience where you can pick, choose, and refuse.
Yeah, wow. And Gowan, as we heard in that report earlier, the construction challenges as well. I'm sure you all are seeing it in the banking sector, people having these issues, just meeting deadlines in so many different industries and sectors. What are you saying to folks, consumers out there who are, I'm sure, frustrated by all of this?
Well, it requires ever more detailed planning. And so certainly, I'm going to say individually, as institutions, we experience it. So I think I'd relate to someone recently, just as simple as air conditioning units are now being told that even if we place it today, we'll not get until January. Wow. And so, when you think about that, that seems very simple. But if I'm running an organization now that in equipment, computer equipment, cyber equipment, because you're moving more to digital frameworks. So you're thinking about your ATM machines, you're thinking about your servers. you do need cooling equipment in order to make sure that they are maintained at the appropriate level. And just as simple as that may seem, you now have to start thinking about inventory. Whereas before, it was something that you would never even contemplate. It was when it was necessary, you would buy it, and within a relatively short period of time, you have it. But as people start to borrow, so whether it is for a vehicle or it is now on construction, persons certainly have to contemplate all of the risks that go into it, and what I'm going to call the carrying costs of borrowing when you can't finish. So if you think about construction and you're building a home, you don't want to be in circumstances where you've outlaid money to contractors or purchasing when ultimately it can't be completed for 6 months, because then you have the cost of that borrowing that is continuing to accrue interest even when you're not getting through the project. So it isn't, I think we have to be very careful as to give the impression that you should stop. I think the way Ben articulated is the right way, that your purchasing strategy is going to require alteration. And this is when you want to lean on persons who have some inside knowledge as you go to the various shops, etc., speaking to the proprietors and understanding, well, what are they saying? What is the reality of where things are? And we have to be, I'm going to say, honest with one another in terms of saying, well, we want you to shop with us, so we're not going to bullskate you and tell you it's next week, knowing it's going to be 2 months. And we have heard of things like that taking place, because you don't want to lose the business. We have to now open and upfront and, as you said, shop around and appreciate all of the vendors that are doing things. But I think that it is just a new problem. I always go back to biblical sort of foundation, and they say there's nothing new under the sun. So the semiconductor and the supply chain is just a new challenge, or I would say a regular challenge with different clothing. That we've had shipping challenges. We've had the Gulf War, where we saw oil prices at that time because of going right back to 1991. We've had 2011, where we had logistics interruptions, 2001, with 9/11, that actually impacted. What COVID-19 has done is simply exacerbate previous experiences where those were short-lived. I think everyone went into COVID-19 believing and hoping it was a 3-month, if you will, turmoil and experience, and has now turned almost going on 2 years, because you can at least easily see that, herd immunity globally in any form or fashion is certainly not taking place in 2022. So from that perspective, I think it's more about keeping optimism that is tempered, and simply saying that before, where I could take for granted certain things will happen, now I have to be ever more planning and ever more strategic in the things that I'm doing. And that goes for individuals, that goes for companies, and it goes for governments.
Yeah. All right, let's take this call here. And good morning, caller. You're on Morning Blend Business. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Are you there, caller? We hear breathing. I don't know if they can hear us. Okay. You want to take the other one there? Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Hi, you're on Morning Blend Business. No, okay. 323, we hear a lot of air. 323-623-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, or text us 422-4796. Okay, we've got a lot of people on our text line who are frustrated by what they're hearing. They're like, this is, the prices just keep going up on everything. Boy, what do you say to that? It just seems like this one is really so much out of everybody's hands. But does it really have to be like this?
What I would say to you, Dwight, and this is one where we have to be careful not to create us versus them syndromes, because the price increases, very often the end consumer sees it as the fault of somebody. And it is the fault of something. It's a culmination of various events. And what that requires is, I'm going to say, working together so that there's clear information. I think the various industries have indicated the expected price increases. They've indicated They are taking actions to try and minimize it by doing advanced purchasing, by hedging where they have the opportunity to do so. And it then goes down to saying that, if you have a perception that it is price gouging and the prices is being increased so that it feathers the cap of business establishments, you have every right to be irate. But if it is one that is just a pass on of what it is that we are in fact consuming, and I encourage Baymans to always appreciate that 90% of what we consume, we import. So inflation and price increases is not usually of our own doing. It is something we inherit, if I use that word, because if prices go up in the US, and that's our largest trading partner where we acquire elements from, prices are going to go up. If prices in China start to escalate and we hit because of the length of the actual transshipment point, the container shortages, so where they are actually stockpiling where they can containers because they need them for longer periods of time. The Bahamas, unfortunately, has to look at how it increases its self-sufficiency in areas that it can. So food supply, in terms of looking at our backyard farming, although we say that sometimes in joke, but how do we produce elements that we want to consume in areas that we can? I don't think we can do things where we're not suited for it in our landscape, but certainly our fisheries, our farming, agriculture, and those ones, we have to look at areas like that. And when we're now talking about how do we help keep prices down, we have to appreciate that shopping at home is a major contributor to that, because whether we go abroad and buy it and bring it in, or we shop for it at home, it's still import. It's still going to pay taxes on it. And if we're on the taxes that are going to be paid, as opposed to coming through and saying, I only spend $300 when I spend $2,000, those types of elements really would help by, if you will, mushrooming and building up the local business sector, who can then have greater planning, greater advanced purchases, and greater economies of scale so that they can keep prices at the lowest possible level. So it is a collective effort, and we don't always see that. And I go back to saying it cannot be us versus them in our Bahamian vernacular. It has to be, if we believe that there's greater transparency in pricing information, et cetera, that's necessary, then let's ask for that and make sure that people provide it so they can say, Ben spoke to various statistics coming out of the US. Those things aren't pulled out of the air. They actually keep that type of information, and we can see it on food products. We can see it on consumables. We can see it on appliances. So if we get those price information details out in sufficient, I'm going to say, simplicity that people can understand, then we'll all appreciate that we have to ride it out together.
Yeah. All right, let's take the call, and then we'll take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I'm trying to good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
I know. I can hardly hear you, too. Very low. But, Dwight, what I've been trying to figure out for such a long time, I listen to a lot of economists, a lot of bankers and everything come on, and they be advising people to save and this and that and next. Then on the other hand, we talk about the pandemic, and then we also talk about the foreseeable future, where they say this depression, this pandemic will be lasting. Sometimes people say as far down the line as 2023, 24. But everybody always talking about the cost of living going up. Well, when it comes to normal worker out there, their salary don't seem to be moving at the same pace of the cost of living. The cost of a car now, when you talk about a brand new car, is almost the same cost of a piece of property. People can hardly buy food, can hardly find money to get a piece of property, can hardly qualify for a loan to build a home. But the cost of living on the average person going up and up and up, and their salary seems to be moving the other direction. I'm trying to figure out, is there an organization or a community out there trying to bring the Bible's words of prediction to bear, where they say man has become so wise, he's going to eventually destroy himself? Why is the cost of living going up and up and up so high that people can hardly afford to live? We can hardly afford to go to a doctor. We can hardly afford to go to a hospital. Most of us can afford to go to is the PMH, and that's overcrowded. We can't afford even to get admitted into the doctor's hospital, which is a private organization.
Okay, nice, Sparky. That's a very, very serious thing, and it is absolutely real. I think it is a little bit different from our topic today, but it does need to be addressed. Gentlemen, I invite you to come back to talk about that if you wish. But when we come back, I want to talk about, again, just timelines, what we're looking at, and what we are expecting on the other side of this shortage. What the trends are looking for you, Ben, for the auto sector, and in finance, Gowan, and more after the break. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Wait, why you look so mashed up like clothes at the washer?
No, but just a hard day, Dwight.
Hard day? What happened? The breakfast lady ran out of tuna and Gretzy.
We need to start joking about everything, This serious, boy. This real serious.
Tell me.
All right, well, today, boss gave us boy one big contract. And nobody else get a chance and nobody say nothing.
Boy, you know that ain't right. You know government contracts ain't supposed to go that way.
Yeah, but nobody's saying nothing. Boss man just tell people to sign the papers. Then he send me to meet his boy downtown and collect this envelope.
You need to tell somebody. You need to become a whistleblower.
You know I's a real man, but I never blow no whistle. I be drunk all my life and drunk,
No way. A whistleblower is someone who tells people what they see when they see something wrong happening at work.
But I ain't no whistleblower, and I ain't no snitch. I still white there,
But ain't nobody gonna know it's you. All you gotta do is call Crime Stoppers, or you could text them from inside the Crack Crime Bahamas app. They don't ask about you. And your call goes straight through to Miami, so nobody know you is. And if you text, your message get mixed up like Kong salad.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk. All day.
Got your final look at weather for this morning. Here's what's happening. We've got rich tropical moisture interacting with lingering troughing to the north of the island, so it will continue to generate bouts of unsettled weather across portions of the island chain. Meanwhile, sea swells generated by Hurricane Larry will begin to impact Atlantic exposed shores by today through tonight. So for today, for the northwest and central Bahamas, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Turning warm tonight, showers may be locally heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times, especially across the northwest Bahamas. For the southeast Bahamas, partly sunny to sunny and hot with a few light showers and a slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. Shower or two possible tonight. Temperatures getting up to around 91 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius, but the heat index around 105 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows getting down to about 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. In your extended outlook, we're expecting the streaming moisture and troughing to maintain rain chances and the potential for severe weather across the northwest Bahamas over the next couple of days, and the sea swells will continue to pop up along Atlantic shorelines through Thursday. We've got Larry out in the Atlantic, moving near Bermuda, but no threat directly to them, and the sea swell impact for us from that. And elsewhere, a trough interacting with an upper-level disturbance in the south-central Gulf of Mexico has about a 30% chance of tropical cyclone formation through the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
And we're back with our final few minutes of Morning Blend Business here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, along with my guests, Gowan Bowe and Ben Albury. And we're talking about the semiconductor chip shortage, the global shortage that we're seeing here impacting so many things, especially vehicle prices, new and used. So Ben Albury, after this is we're hoping something we'll get over. Maybe not this year and possibly not even next year, but in a couple of years at least. What happens after that? What are we seeing? What will the future hold for the auto sector? We keep hearing about electric. Is that where everything is going now, or what do you see?
Well, the automobile industry, like I said, is no stranger here to challenges. I think Gowan made an excellent point about the importance right now of shopping at home and of where you can, spending your money here, keeping that money circulating in our economy. Some of the manufacturers now are starting to go somewhat more to electric vehicles. I'm still not completely sold on the idea here in the Bahamas. We have an unstable power grid. Could you imagine if 35,000 people, 40,000 people went home tonight and plugged their vehicles into BPL, what the outcome could be? We can barely keep the lights on now just to satisfy our present demand. The other thing here is, we have a great deal of flooding. I worry about the vulnerability of electric vehicles as far as the flooding situations that we have here, as well as especially during hurricanes and storm surges. So I think that technology will eventually become more and more obvious, but I think that's something that's, in several countries, I think it's going to take even longer. Here is hopefully one day we'll start to move on to more renewable and stable energy sources.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, as always, we remain optimistic, and, we're going to continue for as long as we can to do what we do. And we have a lot of loyal customers, vehicles that we've sold to people's grandparents, parents, and now the children. And we just try to invest in that relationship, nurture it, and continue to serve the Bahamian public.
Yeah. And Gowan, we've got about 30 seconds, but you mentioned it before, likely interest rates going up. Oh, boy. And but that was, as you said, that will be good for those who want to save, I guess.
Yeah. But it's a long time out, Dwight, and I think the best way of summing it up is this: that you can't predict the future; you can only start to prepare for it. And where there is no vision, the people perish. And to the previous caller's comments, this is where we have to start working of the private sector, the public sector, or civic sector, and government, so that we are actually doing things to enable prosperity for all, including the workers as well as businesses, because we only survive with workers. The future outlook, I think, is one that those countries that plan the best and actually put in place strategies that are not short-sighted, but have longer-term legs to them, that have milestones, will be the ones that are most successful. And given the agility of the Bahamas, the strength of its banking sector, we didn't have the collapses like we saw in North America and Europe when we had the financial crisis, and it was because it's a conservative environment. And so I think looking forward, there are greater and better days for the Bahamas, and ultimately it's about getting to the other side. And I think we certainly just have to do more of it as a collective body as opposed to individualistic ideals and goals. And so from that perspective, and it is going to be a hard slog because it is going to take some time.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Gowan Bowe and Ben Albury. Great information. I hope people are paying attention to what's happening out there so you don't have any sticker shock when you make your way around. But thank you again. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk again soon and things will look better. The picture with the semiconductor issue. That's it for us today. I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, have a great one. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green next.
Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.